Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on May Day, Sunday, May 1st, 2016. This is episode 1284. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by TunnelBear. TunnelBear is the simple privacy app that makes it easy to browse privately and enjoy a more open internet. To learn more and get your free TunnelBear, visit trytunnelbear.com/techguy. That's trytunnelbear.com/techguy. And by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost, automated investment service and the most sophisticated way to invest your money. Whether you've got millions or you're just starting out, visit wealthfront.com/techguy and sign up to get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/techguy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, virtual reality, headgear, and more. Anything with a chip in it. 8888 Ask Leo's the number. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. If you're outside that area, you can still call, because I know we have listeners all over the world from the internet. And all you got to do is use your Skype out or some sort of VoIP appliance and dial that number. And since it's a toll-free number here, I think it should be free to call from anywhere. 8888 Ask Leo. The website is techguylabs.com. That's where you'll find the phone number, of course, and a link to our chat room. It's an IRC chat, irc.twit.tv, one of those old-fashioned internet things. IRC is older than the web. IRC goes back to the earliest days. I like that. I'm an old timer. I like the old stuff, the way it used to be on the internet. Way things used to be. So my website, there's no sign up, there's no form for you to fill out, no email request. I don't want that information. I don't collect their information. Just listen to the show, that's all I ask. Occasionally, if a sponsor tickles your fancy, you buy something from them and you mention the show. That's all. That's all. 8888 Ask Leo. Oh, I don't know where to start. Should I do this? I got good news and I got bad news. I have fun stories and I have serious stories. I'll give you a fun story. Do you know about the McLaren F1 automobile? There's only 100.
It's a Mercedes, right?
No, well, no, I don't know. Boy, I think some people would be pretty angry at you if you called it that, since it costs more than $1 million.
Well, I think it's like a souped-up Mercedes.
No, it's a $10 million car. Is it really a souped-up? Because that would be kind of sad. No.
Oh, okay.
There's only, I think, 109 of them or something like that. There are not very many of them. It's a car for 106 were built. 100 still exist today. It's the world's greatest supercar, according to Jalopnik. Don't laugh at that name. That's a very well-known site, Jalopnik.
It's just ironic.
Yeah, it's not about jalopies alone. It was the first proper production car to use a carbon fiber monocoque chassis. It was designed by Formula One legend Gordon Murray. There is a BMW engine, a V12 BMW Motorsport engine. It's the fastest, and I don't know what this means, but I must say it anyway, naturally aspirated street-legal car ever made. I think it means it breathes air, not, nitro-fueled funny car, but like a regular street vehicle. So it turns out, when they built these, and they built them in 1998, that the state-of-the-art computing was a DOS-based compact laptop that looks like something. I said I'm an old timer. I like this stuff. Apparently, to this day, if you have to repair an F1, McLaren F1, you have to have this DOS-based compact laptop, and that's how they service it. And they're running out of them. They buy them on eBay. They look for them anywhere they can. I mean, when it was built in the 90s, this was state of the art, and they put microchips in it. You know, this is before all cars today. You know, you use a computer to diagnose and repair them. You can't without the computer. You can't do much. But in 1998, that was a big deal. 630 horsepower, and they've got processors in there from Bosch and Lucas and Tag. So when they want to repair it, they have to plug it into a compact LTE 5280 20-year-old laptop running DOS software. And they're a little worried at the factory because they don't know. They say this is from McLaren. We're currently working on a new interface which will be compatible with modern laptops because those old compacts are getting less and less reliable and harder to find. This reminds me of, what was it? There was a school district that was running their entire heating and air conditioning system with old Amiga computers. You got to figure there's a few of these lying around. Meanwhile, the government has new hacking powers. Oh, this is exciting. So that was the fun news. Now the serious stuff. It's a proposal from the Advisory Committee on Criminal Rules for the Judicial Conference of the United States, amendment to Rule 41 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. And the Supreme Court agreed, and Congress will have to disavow it by December 1st if it doesn't become part of law. The law says that if you or some bad guy is using software to obscure your location, like a Tor browser, which is intended to hide your location, or a VPN, then any judge in any district in the country can issue a warrant, a search warrant, because they can't tell what district you're from. So any judge in any jurisdiction. I guess that kind of makes sense, right? The problem is apparently there's a wide range of skill sets and antipathy to technology in the various jurisdictions around the country. So all the FBI has to do is find a judge who really hates technology and doesn't know much about it, and he'll say, "Sure, yeah, you got a warrant. Go get him." And that kind of ties into another story. Remember, we're supposed to have, according to the Patriot Act, these special courts, the United States Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, the FISC courts. They're secret courts that give oversight to our intelligence agencies to make sure that they don't overstep their bounds. According to Reuters, last year, 1,457 requests were made to the FISC courts, the FISA courts, by the NSA and the FBI. 1,457. Every single one was approved. Zero were declined. The year before, 1,379 requests made. You know how many were approved? All of them. Now, sometimes the applications are sent back and say, you might want to fix this. A whole 80 of them were sent back last year and then approved. Last year, you know, the national security letters, we've talked about those a little bit too. Those are letters that go to places like Facebook and Google and Apple, and they say, you got to give us everything you know about this person, and oh, and by the way, you can't tell that person or anybody else ever. The NSLs, national security letters, you know how many they sent out, the FBI sent out in 2015? 48,642. And a company can't say no to those, nor can a company complain about it. They can't say diddly. All they can do is go, okay, that's your information. Just want you to know. And the courts that we're trusting to oversee this, apparently, well, you know what? I'm sure it's the case that the FBI and the NSA never ask for anything they shouldn't, right? It's just, of course, it does raise some concern that maybe this court might be a rubber stamp court. So now you put those two stories together, it's interesting. Because law enforcement can go to any jurisdiction in the country and say, I need a warrant anywhere. And it applies, thanks to the Supreme Court. And Congress has till December 1st to overturn that. That's not going to happen. That's not going to be happening. Should I cheer you up with something else? How about this? A custom floppy disk. The artist formerly named as Prince. Remember Prince in 1993 said, I'm not going to be called Prince anymore. I want to be called Squiggly. So nobody can print Squiggly. You have to handwrite it. So they sent a floppy disk with a font on it to all the journals in the country. Font had one character, Squiggly. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Your call's next. This is so great. My friend Anil Dash has this. The 3.5-inch floppy given to the press when Prince changed his name. Contains a font with one symbol on it. Squiggly. Isn't that cool? I wish I had that. I bet you could download that now.
It'd be a cool thing to have.
You could download the Squiggly probably.
Yeah, you could probably just copy and paste it.
Let me see if I can. Prince, what do you call that? A glyph? Prince glyph.
Prince symbol? John's saying love symbol.
Writing the Prince symbol in Unicode.
Oh.
What? Okay. Oh, you have to combine things. Warner Brothers had to send out floppy disks with a custom font to Music Press. But it wasn't purple. Somebody says a purple floppy disk with a Prince font. No, it was yellow. That's kind of weird. Anyway, it is not eligible for inclusion in Unicode because it's a personal character or logo. The Unicode geeks on the mailing lists instead use the shorthand TAFKAP, the artist formerly known as Prince. It looks, yeah, like a weather vane. It's the male symbol plus the female symbol. Anyway, this is if you're using Unicode and you have the proper font support, you can do it, sort of, with a combination of 01AC, 030A, 0335, and 032C. Sort of. I don't know. So it never made it into Unicode. I would love to have that in a font, wouldn't you? Here's an article from the Daily Dot. We found Prince's original love symbol font. Here it is. You can download it. So I have to download it. Let me actually, before I click on that. No, that's just the article. Where can I get the font? Oh, download it from a Dropbox folder. Oh, that's not going to still be. Oh, it is. Get it quickly before it's gone. Download font. Yes. Prince Plain. All right. Now let's open it up. Prince Plain TTF. There it is. That's it. One
little symbol.
Little symbol. Install font. I have Prince Plain. Wow, that's awesome.
Very cool.
Wow. Now what do I do with it?
Sign all your postcards with
I can put it on my yeah,
picture cards.
my picture cards. That is awesome. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So thanks, Daily Dot. The Daily Dot found the font. Somebody in the chat room gave me the link. You know, we'll put this in our show notes. So you can download the Prince font as well. It is a single character. And just that one, the artist formerly known as Prince character. And yes, it's scalable. You can make it big or little. You can you can put it in your mail. Wow. It's just one character, the original Prince font. Isn't that cool? That is nice. I don't know, if you want it, we'll put it. Remind me, Josh. I'll give you the file. You could put. It's a TTF, True Type font, which means it'll work Windows, Mac, Linux. If you want a copy, you can have a copy too, Kim. Kim Schaffer's here.
I would love one.
Isn't that cool?
I've always wanted to know how to
It's the only way.
do that.
It's the only way. It's kind of a kooky thing to do in 1993. They say it was kind of to get back at Warner Music, his record label.
It was a slave.
Like, I mean, here you have this brand you've created, this iconic brand, Prince. And no, I'm going to get rid of that. I'm just going to use this thing, which no. So they sent these floppies to all the music press saying, if you're going to review the album, please use this font, this one character. Now you can too. I don't know if it's copyrighted or anything. I think you just, I wouldn't sell it. It's called Prince Plain, by the way, is the name of the font. Prince Plain. There's no italic.
Can you make it purple?
I'm sure you can. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get to the phones, and that's what Kim's here for. She's been answering the calls.
Yes.
And you've picked some people for their appearance.
Yeah, Dave in Escondido is having some text message woes and is hoping you can help him out.
Text message woes. We call that TMW. Dave in Escondido. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Leo, this is a big honor. I've been a fan for so many years, all the way back to Screensavers.
Oh, nice.
And been wanting to call in for a long time, but I really haven't had a good question up until now.
You know, in 10 days, it is the, get ready for this, you're going to make feel old, the 18th anniversary of the launch of the Screensavers, and with it, ZDTV and Tech TV.
Yeah.
18 years.
That's amazing.
I'm an old man. 1 year anniversary of our relaunch of the new Screensavers, which we've been doing on our podcast network for a year now. So that's kind of cool.
Well, we all appreciate all your great work.
It's fun. Well, I thank you for watching it. It'd be kind of hard to do if you didn't. What can I do for you?
Well, my question is about text messages. I've noticed recently that my wife and I, when we send each other text messages, occasionally there's delays up to like 15 or 20 minutes for the text messages to come through.
No. You wouldn't be on Verizon by any chance.
I actually am on Verizon.
How did I know? Yeah, I don't know why that is. First of all, that's an ancient system. The SMS, Simple Message System, goes back way, way back. It doesn't use data, get this. It doesn't. It's really using the phone network. And phone companies make a lot of money on it. It's as of 2014, it's said to be worth over $100 billion, 50% of the revenue generated by mobile messaging. And of course, it's being undermined now by data-based messaging, like WhatsApp. iPhone even does it. The iPhone, Apple's message program, will use SMS only if there's no other way. Otherwise, it'll use data, you know, the same stuff that your email and your web browsing uses on your phone.
Right.
So SMS was necessary for phones that didn't have data connections, those old phones, you know, that didn't do anything but make phone calls. But now we kind of prefer data messaging. And Verizon, I don't know why, but Verizon seems to have issues with its gateway, especially if you're sending it from Verizon to another carrier. Remember in not so long ago, one of the things that held SMS back in the United States, it was huge all over the world before it was big here, was that you couldn't initially text message somebody on a different network. If you were on Verizon, you could only send messages to people on Verizon.
I remember that.
Yeah. So they have gateways now that get it through to the other people, and those gateways are funky. And sometimes there can be some delay. Are you and your wife on the same network, both on Verizon?
We're both on the same network. We both have iPhone 6s. Mine's a 6 Plus, and she's got the Raider 6.
Okay. So most of the time, you're not using the SMS gateway because the text messaging program on iPhones is Apple's Messages, which tries to use data. And if it knows you're messaging another iPhone user, it, generally speaking, will not use the SMS system. Now, if it doesn't use the SMS system, it should be instant. Data's instant. Here's
the real concern for us. My wife is just starting out as a notary, a signing agent. She's the person that comes to your house.
Yeah.
If you're refinancing your mortgage.
Yep.
The way she gets work is basically via different agencies that send her text messages.
Oh, great.
And
that's where you're going to see delays because they're coming into the Verizon network from other networks. They're not using Apple Messages. If they, by the way, if they're on AT&T and they have iPhones, you shouldn't see delays because it's still going to use data. And this is where Apple's kind of bypassed the whole carrier infrastructure. But if they're on AT&T and they don't have an iPhone, they're using an Android phone, then it goes SMS through the gateway from AT&T to Verizon and then to her, which could take time. I've seen it take a full day.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it must be getting stuck there somehow.
Yeah. See, if she doesn't get their text message immediately and respond
she'll lose
immediately,
the business.
Another notary will
No,
pick it up.
of course, I understand. And you can't really say to clients, please don't use SMS. Please use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. Or, you know, all of those systems, Telegram, Google Talk or Hangouts, all of those systems use data only. They don't use SMS. But with Apple, you're kind of in this weird situation where there is only, you know, the thing about Apple is to make it easy and straightforward for users, they give you one way to do it. But that also means it's less flexible. You could use WhatsApp, but it wouldn't work with the text messaging that your customers are using. So on Android, for instance, I don't have to use an SMS application. I can use Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, any other messenger as my main text messaging app. And that solves some of these problems, but it doesn't do it on an iPhone because Apple won't let you do that.
Okay, and that would be also in the case of just receiving text messages?
Yeah, it's all the same. It doesn't...
Okay.
So I don't know what you could do unless you could convince clients not to use SMS.
Yeah, that's not really a possibility. I mean, we're open to changing platforms or even changing characters or carriers.
Well, Verizon's notorious for this, but I think, you know, actually I'll ask our audience in the chat room, you know, do you ever get delayed text messages? What's your carrier? Verizon's notorious for it. I don't know why. Maybe they haven't kept up their SMS infrastructure or whatever. One way you could do it is get another phone number, not change carriers or messaging platforms, but get a Google, for instance, Google Voice phone number. That's free. And give that number out. Now, here's why she would want to do that. First of all, she can have it go to her home phone, her mobile phone for business, her mobile phone for personal use, up to 5 different numbers. The texts are all handled via data. And it's another gateway, but my experience with Google Voice is it's been pretty quick. It is another gateway, though, so that it is also possible there'll be delays there. And there's nothing perfect, in other words. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, Google Voice will email you if you said it that way. Yeah. But I have had delays on Google Voice, too, especially when you use Google Voice with like a bank and for the text message 6-digit authorization code. Sometimes those never get through. And I think that's because Google Voice is not always seen as a carrier. It's seen as something odd. But for the most part, no issues with T-Mobile, somebody's saying. Same issues with Verizon, Twisted Mister says. Bleep Blurp says, well, the issue is you're going from your phone to the tower, to the router, to the NSA, to the router, to the other person's phone. And you never know what the NSA is going to do. Yeesh. Yeesh. I have mostly T-Mobile and AT&T, and I haven't seen that. But Lisa's a Verizon customer, and she gets delayed SMSs all the time. It's just sad. No, Google Voice is free, unless they've changed it. You do not have to sign up for Google Wallet. And you do not have to pay $20. And Google Voice is not seen as a SMS service by some, although because of FI, it should be, right? And Google Voice is US only, that's right. I think, yeah, if you had spotty service, so Boz is saying, I've had T-Mobile issues in areas with spotty service. Of course, that's true because SMS doesn't use data. So if you don't have phone service, it's not going to go through till you do. We get delayed messages, says Dr. Mom on AT&T, if they originate on a Verizon network. Yeah, that's the worst case scenario, is the gateway. Talkatone is free and unlimited text. A lot of times those services are not seen as SMS services. And see, the phone company is really, I'll be honest, I think, they're trying to keep this cash cow that is SMS. So they don't like the data solutions. Only Apple was able to get it through because they're Apple. Yes, you didn't have to guess too hard, Mr. Cobb. Doesn't those even look better in person? Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you at PC Freak, I ordered it, and it's supposed to be, I don't know if delivered or shipped on May 9th. So if you want to get the HP Spectre 13T and you want to wait until I get it. Now, here's my biggest question. Can I put Linux on it? I think I can. I think I can. I hope I can. Because then, I don't want to use it with Windows. I'm sorry, I can't bear Windows. Forgive me. Forgive me, Windows users, but I just can't. My Tesla status, I've been updated, is they're holding it till September, which is what I asked them to do. I just didn't know that they were doing that, because that's when my lease runs out. So I'll get it in the fall. I hope. Oh, that's not. I don't have a Windows machine here. Shoot. What was I thinking? Yeah, I'm not going to use Mint. I don't like Mint. But what I will use is its root distribution, Debian. And Debian, I probably have to find drivers for some things. Not everything will work. And yeah, I'm kind of feeling like OS X is getting more and more commercialized and bulky, and that's why I'm kind of hoping I can use it with Linux. Nathan Staten, our musical director for the May Day. Feels like May Day should be the first day of summer. It's getting there, right? I guess Memorial Day is traditionally the beginning of the season. Well, really traditionally, it's not till June, but oh, who wants to be really traditional? 8888 Ask Leo, 888-827-5536. That's the phone number. If you want to call and ask a question or talk, or tell me if you have a great SMS provider. Chat room seems to think T-Mobile does a pretty good job with it. I'm increasingly a fan of T-Mobile. Good prices. The only issue is their coverage map can be spotty, and so and this is true of everybody. I don't care even if Verizon has Ricky Gervais or whoever it is doing their ads with the giant bowling balls and we got the best coverage. You don't care who has the best nationwide coverage. You care who has the best coverage where you use your phone, and that varies. So you have to ask neighbors and friends, and don't look at the official coverage maps because those won't tell you anything. You know, how can I say this diplomatically? Slightly exaggerated sometimes. So you want to choose the coverages. Most carriers, if you walk in the door, say, I'm thinking of becoming a Verizon customer. I would like to try a phone for 2 weeks. Most of the time I think sometimes even 30 days, they will let you do that and bring it back at no cost to you if you say, the coverage isn't very good. Or I won't work in my office, or it won't work in my house. So that's another way to do it, is to try it. But if T-Mobile works in your area, it does here, works very well here. I think it's a great carrier. It's kind of my current favorite. Frank in Pomona, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Frank.
Hey, Leo. My wife and I are longtime listeners, first-time callers.
Thank you.
I have a Nest Cam that I was having trouble setting up, and when I called the support and we walked through my router settings, the only way we could get it to work was to turn off the firewall.
Yeah, that's not good.
Turn off the band switching. I have a Motorola Aris AC 1900.
Okay.
So I slowly turned the band switching back on because I was kind of having trouble switching between the 5G and the 2.4 network. So the band switching is back on, but I haven't turned the firewall back on. And I'm concerned that maybe the Nest Cam is going to stop working again. I use it as a baby monitor.
So the key and this is true of almost anything that is serving data to the outside world from inside your house, a firewall is going to block that conversation to protect you. And a router works as a firewall. It may not even say firewall on it, but that's what it is. It's a dumb device that is in between your house, your Nest camera in this case, and the internet, and is monitoring the traffic, is routing the traffic. It's saying, oh, that packet's for you, that packet's for you. We need them now because it used to be when you had one computer, going on the internet and you'd plug it into the wall and dial the modem, you know, that's the one computer. So it didn't need to do any routing. But now you have many devices using one internet connection in your house. And so the router is just it's a very simple little computer that says, oh, that data, that goes to the phone. Oh, that data, that's going to that computer. Oh, that data is going to the Nest camera. So it acts as a firewall because if something comes to it that it doesn't know where it came from or who it belongs to, it'll just drop it. It says, I don't know what to do with that. I'm not routing that anywhere. So turning off your firewall is not desirable because it opens you up to traffic from the outside world kind of snooping around in your network looking for vulnerabilities. The truth is you're probably not vulnerable if you update your network and update your software and you care. But it's just imprudent to do it that way. Sometimes people do something called a DMZ. Your router may offer this as a choice. Demilitarized zone is probably not the best way to describe it, but essentially you can say, hey, that Nest camera there, don't do any routing at all. Anything that it wants to do, let it do. I don't recommend that either, especially with cameras, because cameras are risky, and we've seen this with other brands, not with the Nest camera, but other cameras occasionally, you know, allow a bad guy into your house to look at you. You don't want that. So we want our router. So the trick here is not to use a DMZ, which is just a rule that says, hey, anything goes, but to use some very specific rules that say this is the kind of traffic this camera is going to generate, and you can allow this from this camera only. It's called port forwarding. There's this kind of artificial, you know, model for how connections work. Every connection, every different kind of connection comes in through a different port, or you could think of it as a socket almost. And so internet traffic for a web browser comes through port 80. So, you know, that's just attached to the packet that says this is port 80 traffic. SSL, secure traffic, is 443. That's secure traffic. If you had an email server in your house, you would be sending out mail over port 25. So whenever you have a device in your house that you want to communicate with, you know, to the outside world, you need to know what ports it uses, and then you tell your router, you give it some rules. You say, hey, open these ports for traffic to and from this particular device, and you'll name the device by its internal IP address. So as you probably know, when your router, I know it's complicated, and I'll give you a link to some sites where you can read about port forwarding. But as you probably know, your router, when it's doing this routing, assigns a local address to every device. Usually it's a 192.168.1. something. And so your Nest camera, for instance, might have a 192.168.1.110. That might be the camera's address. Then in the router, you'll say, okay, traffic to and from 110 along these specific ports is allowed. Nothing else, just that. That's the safest way to open up your firewall just the tiniest bit, poke a little hole in it for specific kinds of traffic. In the case of the Nest camera, it uses a lot of ports. It uses, and you can find this in the Nest documentation. That's where I found it. 9543, 11095 are its dedicated ports. And then, of course, it does use some web traffic to signal, and that's port, as I mentioned, port 80 and 443. Your router will not be blocking 80 or 443. If you did block those, by the way, and then tried launching a browser, you'd see I can't browse the internet. So that proves, you know, those ports are actually being blocked. That kind of traffic is being blocked. So 80 and 443 are already open, or you wouldn't be able to use your browser. But you do want to open also 9543 and 11095. And again, that's documented. I don't know why Nest support didn't tell you that, except that, well, maybe you just heard this description of it and you realized why. It's kind of complicated. But if you have an Xbox on your network and you want to be able to start a game server on your network, you need to do this, port forwarding. If you have a lot of devices that, you know, nowadays, these IoT, Internet of Things devices, a lot of them are going to need some way to communicate to the outside world. What you don't want is a system that Microsoft created called Universal Plug and Play. that automatically opens ports. This is bad. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see why this is bad. It means that any software running inside your network can just go to the router and say, hey, open these ports, I'll be using them. That's fine if it's an Xbox. Not so great if it's a bad guy. So in fact, we always recommend if you're using a router that you turn off UPnP, Universal Plug and Play, because that's dangerous. That allows software or a device inside your network to say, hey, I want to talk to everybody out there. It's easy for you. You don't have to know about it. Not good for your security. Port forwarding, that's what you need to look up. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. And I'm very sorry I got into that conversation. As long as we're talking port forwarding, though, if you understood what I just said, then you probably already know a little bit about something called VPN, Virtual Private Networks. And if you know about VPNs, you know TunnelBear. I'm so glad to have TunnelBear as a sponsor. TunnelBear is the easy-to-use privacy app. Provides you with a secure and private connection to enjoy the internet more securely. TunnelBear is a VPN. It lets you bypass all of the annoying details that usually come with setting up a VPN. You don't have to mess with port forwarding, port configurations, DNS, router settings. TunnelBear does it all. It's very easy to use. And here's the nice thing. You can actually, in the TunnelBear app, choose a country that you want to appear to originate from. So if there's geographic restrictions, a lot of people, this is why they use TunnelBear. It makes it very easy to get around geographic restrictions. You can appear to be coming from the UK or Singapore or wherever you want. TunnelBear has servers all over the world. And you just choose a country, turn it on, and you can watch as the bear tunnels through the internet to that new location. 500 megabytes of free data every month. You don't need to give them a credit card. So if you just want occasionally to use this, you're going to be an open Wi-Fi access spot. You just want to, surf the web without any snoops in the access spot. 500 megabytes free. I think that's really nice. AES 256-bit encryption, of course. You can bypass geographic blocking, hide your location. Third parties, hackers, local networks, the coffee shop owner can't see what's going on. It also, of course, if you use it at home, prevents your internet service provider from seeing what's going on, and there's a lot of reasons why you may want to do that. People always talk about, I'm worried about what Google sees. You know who sees more than anything? Your ISP sees everything you do. TunnelBear, tunnel to 20 different countries. Use the internet as if you're in any one of those countries. Oh, by the way, their privacy policy, superb. I looked at it, I made sure, and no logging, which is kind of a requirement if you're going to use a VPN. They do not log user activity. Try tunnelbear.com/techguy. Get your free account today. 500 megabytes a month. So it's just good to have. That one time you need it. Try tunnelbear.com/techguy. I don't ever use an open access spot, especially at a hotel or on a cruise ship or anywhere that you're in a large area where other people are using it. I always use TunnelBear. Try tunnelbear.com/techguy. Yeah, that's good. DDWRT says, okay, we're going to let you use UPnP because the Xbox gets cranky if you turn off UPnP. This is nice. DDWRT says, okay, restrict UPnP to these addresses, which is in effect port forwarding. You say, okay, allow address 9543 and 11095 to use UPnP. Then the device comes on and says, oh, good, I can open those ports. And it'll never know that, in fact, you still have a firewall working properly. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo. Jim, Oxnard, California. Hi, Jim. You're next.
Oh, hey, Leo. How's it going?
It's great. How are you?
Good.
What can I do for you?
All right. Let me describe the scenario. We have a church, and we have an auxiliary building that's about 250 to 300 feet away. Every once in a while, we have, let's say, a funeral service, and the overflow ends up going to the auxiliary building that's 200-300 feet away, and they just sit there and wait for the service.
Oh, that's terrible. That you want them to see it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've kind of dabbled with Ustream, and it just isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're asking is there a direct connect we can make?
Exactly.
Ustream, you're uploading it from the church, it's going on the public internet, and then the people in the remote system are downloading it on a screen.
Right.
And now we use that. You could go watch us on Ustream, and if you provide Ustream with enough bandwidth from your church and enough bandwidth at the download site, it'll work fine. I mean, it can give you a broadcast quality signal, but it is bandwidth constrained.
Yeah.
So you might, frankly, that's probably the easiest way to do it. But you have to have enough bandwidth coming out of the, whoops, sorry, I just hit my microphone. Just coming out of the church. I shouldn't use my hands so much. It's radio. I don't need to. Coming out of the church and enough bandwidth coming into the remote facility. What is the, and probably, I bet you're both using the same connection, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So the church uploading is using up all the bandwidth that the church downloading would want to use. Yeah.
So someone suggested, because it rarely happens, I would say at the most maybe 2 times a year, they said to hardwire a camera from the church to the auxiliary building.
Well, of course, you could do that, a closed-circuit TV, but then you have to have a wire. Do you have a way to...
Well, the thing is, we only use it, let's say we use it twice a year. We would actually just reel out the cable.
Yeah, you could do that.
Outlets, plug it in during that one service.
Yeah.
And then when the service is over, we'd just reel it back in.
You totally could do that. You could also do it with directional Wi-Fi. Now, most of the time, Wi-Fi access points are omnidirectional. They have a sphere around them. But you can actually buy antennas that aim and receivers that aim. And so you could do it wirelessly as well. 300 feet's long for regular Wi-Fi, but it's nothing for directional Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So that's another way you could do that. That would be, the problem with stringing wire, I mean, it's fine, is besides the trouble, you don't want anybody to trip.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So
we have enough fence that we could line it along the fence. That's not the problem.
There's a site that everybody should know about called Radio Labs, radiolabs.com, that specializes in this kind of these kinds of wireless solutions. So if you wanted to look into it, you could go there and read about directional antennas and point-to-point even, which would probably be what you'd want, which is specifically going from one building to another. You could do point-to-multipoint if you had many places, but point-to-point is really all you need.
Okay. And one more question.
Yeah.
Hardware.
Not much. I mean, that's what Radio Labs will talk to you about. They actually sell the hardware. So they'll explain what you would need. You can describe it. 300 feet's not that bad. It's not going to cost you more to do that than it is to buy, because to go 300 feet with a closed-circuit camera is still going to have to get an amplifier and a lot of cable. That's going to cost you money, too. Because you can't just run an HDMI cable for 350 feet. It won't work.
Right.
If you are going to do that, what you would do is you'd get something called balun, B-A-L-U-N. These are amplifiers you put on either end of it, and then you use regular Ethernet cable to go the 300 feet. And with that, you could actually string HDMI for that distance easily using baluns. Baluns aren't that expensive. 300 feet of Ethernet cable is not cheap, but not hugely expensive.
Yeah, and baluns are amplifiers?
It's kind of confusing because it stands for balanced, unbalanced. I don't know why that name, but basically what they are is they convert the HDMI signal into something that can be transmitted over Ethernet. They're little transmitters in there, and then they also have the effect of amplifying it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
you
like
need that.
Radio Labs is the place to go.
That's a place to start. And then if you want to look at baluns, there are plenty of places you can buy them. I usually get mine from Monoprice, MONOPRICE.com. They make inexpensive cabling of all kinds. Good quality, but just inexpensive. That's the place to go for your... If you decide to do a wired solution, go to Monoprice.
Right.
So there's 2 ways to do it, yeah. And maybe there's a third that I haven't thought of in chat room. If you think of something, let us know and keep listening, Jim. We'll see if we get some.
Yeah, it's nothing that we need to broadcast on the internet. It's just those, like you said, point to point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Point to point is actually fairly easy to do. Much easier than broadcasting it. And it won't use any of your internet bandwidth, which is probably a good thing.
And if I were to Google it to find a service or an agent or someone who knows how to do that, what kind of
That's a good question.
person does this kind of stuff?
Well, I think in Oxnard you probably have some pretty good choices.
Yeah.
Any AV guy could do this.
AV, okay.
Yeah, search for AV.
Okay.
AV services. You know, those are the guys who in high school would bring the film strip projector around or the movie projector and set it up and plug it in, and then the AV club. Well, guess what? They got a job. They had a pretty good job, actually. There's in every major city there's good AV. We use in San Francisco. There's a company called McCune that's been doing it for years. MCCUNE. I'm not sure in Southern California who you'd choose, but if you look for AV providers, you'd find a choice. Teresa, Garden Grove, California. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
I'm using an Apple iPhone 3G.
Okay.
And I've got like about 6,000 Gmails. And I'm technologically challenged, and I don't know how to erase them.
Is the phone saying, I'm full?
No.
No. So the good news about Gmail is that the mail is not stored on the phone. They do cache a little bit of it, so if you get offline, you can still read and send email, but it's mostly stored at Google. So it's okay. Don't worry about that. What really gets people on iPhones is photos. And do you take a lot of pictures on your iPhone?
Not many.
Yeah. And those 3Gs, you probably have a small amount of storage, like 8 gigabytes of storage. So those phones did fill up a lot, but that's why Apple introduced later, after your phone came out, something called iCloud, where you back up your photos automatically with Apple's Photos app, and then they put small versions on your phone so you can see them, but it doesn't take up a lot of space. Apple really has responded to this with lots of these management things, but they require newer versions of iOS, which you can't put on your phone because your phone's pretty old. I wouldn't, unless it's complaining, I wouldn't worry about it. Your Gmail's safe. Okay. If it's
okay.
Yeah, if it's not complaining, don't worry about it. And when you get a new phone, you'll get a larger amount of storage, and you'll get access to these nice Apple technologies that solve this problem. I remember in the days of the 3G, a lot of people filled up their phones with pictures, and so that's a little more tricky. But if that's not your problem, I think you're all right. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Keep all that email. You want that. Yeah. Yeah, I think Gmail, the app, I'd have to look, caches the stuff for speediness, but it doesn't store it. The images aren't stored there. Boz says, I have 18 email accounts on my iPhone 6. 18, 32,000 unread messages. No problem, because it's not storing them there. Yeah. What do you look at me like that?
It's about, I have about 30 to 40,000
unread
emails
messages?
I haven't read.
Yeah, me too. That's normal.
Well,
Isn't that
because
normal?
you get on all these lists.
Yeah, I don't want to read all my email.
Yeah.
And,
Very rarely do I even get anything of use in that email address anymore.
It's called bacon. So I have a system of filtering that I really is working for me now. The bottom line is I have some folders. So I have I have a VIP folder that has like your address and Lisa's address, my family's address, business people. You know, that's maybe a dozen people. And if it comes from any of those, it immediately goes to the VIP folder. So I read that first. I can ignore anything. And then the next folder down is friends. And that works on the email service I use. I have my contact list. So I have a rule on that service. If it's in my contact list and it isn't a VIP, put it in friends. So that means in there is only people I have in my address book. Okay. So that's no spam. That's no newsletters. That's just people I know. That's the next level down from VIP. And then there's a third level that's addressed directly to me, and this is the key, but doesn't have the word unsubscribe anywhere in the email. Because if it's mailing lists, it'll have at the bottom unsubscribe. I put everything that says unsubscribe in the bottom in a folder called mailing lists, and I never look at it.
Yeah, I want to know how
it works. This system works really well for me. It took me a few years to figure it out, and then there's a few other things you can do, but by doing a VIP contact, list, I call it friends, and then to Leo, it has to be specifically addressed to Leo at leoville.com, and then everything else gets, I have folders for the radio station and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it works pretty well. And then you can ignore the 25,000 other things because you know those were not addressed directly to you, or they're not from somebody you know, or blah, blah, blah. Do you use Gmail?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the icon on my phone says 16,510.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's even more than that.
Oh, it's more than that. Yeah, because a lot of that's just junk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can have maybe a news group filter. I have a mailing lists filter that if there's certain things that every mailing list has in it, and you just those filters are really the key. Let me see how many unanswered messages I have. I can show you this setup here on my Thunderbird. I don't know if you'll be able to read it. Probably not. It's too small. What? What happened? It got shy all of a sudden. There it goes. Oh, there's something coming in. Some sort of dialogue. So, oh, these are reminders. So I have like, so there's VIP. This is just like mostly Lisa, right? And then friends. But then I have like finance would be any bank. Domains is from my domain registrars. Amazon is if it comes from Amazon. So those are quick folders. You know, this is the mailing lists folder. It has tons of stuff in it, 4,312. And this is only 30 days worth of email. I don't store more than 30 days on here. I leave the rest on the server. It's coming in. Twit is stuff addressed to @twit.tv. So I have several email addresses there. So it just goes, this all filters it out. And then I can very quickly look at the important stuff. Inbox is good too. I like Inbox if you use that on your phone. But I find my filters are more accurate. So what happens is the email goes to Gmail, and Gmail takes all the spam out. And then I pick up the mail with Fastmail, my IMAP provider. I pick it up from Fastmail. And Fastmail has all the rules because Fastmail has something called Civ, which is a very powerful scripting language for rules. And it also has Spam Assassin, so I use their anti-spam too. This way I get no spam at all. Very little spam. Yeah, this is this is the Dell XPS from last year. And this is running Debian with GNOME 3, which I like a lot. Well, you don't necessarily want to delete it, right, Garci? But it's a good filter to have. If you don't have good filters in either your client, better on the server. So I use server-side filters. Then I don't have to do any client filters. And if I install a new computer, which I do every day practically, I don't have to, copy filters over or anything because it's all on the server side. That's why I use Fastmail, because their server filters are incredible, really powerful. I'll talk to you, Danielle. What do you want? IMAP. I never use POP. Actually, I take it back. I might use POP to connect. Fastmail might use POP to get the Gmail stuff. I can't remember. No, I always know. Chris is in my friends folder. I can always find it. The problem is this computer doesn't have a mail client on it. On the big computer, I don't want a mail client on there. But what I do now have is actually you can see my folders better on here because this is the Fastmail interface. So you can see all the foldering here. And then some of this, I do preserve the filtering. See, so this is the general inbox. See, look at all the crap in here. I mean, there's a ton of stuff I don't want. Firewall notifications and solicitations from Williams-Sonoma and all sorts of stuff. So I don't ever see that. The stuff I see is in VIP, Friends, and Leo. That's where I go. Those three folders are where I go first. And then there's additional ones. I have, for instance, I set up a new email server at Laporte.cloud because I was thinking, maybe I'll use like Leo at Laporte.cloud or Lisa at Laporte.cloud, but nobody wants to do it. So Outlook's fine, but any email provider is fine. I don't like Domino's Pizza or Outlook, Mike B. So there. Poor Mike B. must think I'm targeting him. You don't have to back up your IMAP email, Crimson. You don't have to, because Google's doing that for me. But, so every bit of my mail ever is on Google and on Fastmail. So it is backed up in effect. Yeah, you do, Mike B, don't you? ISP email I never use. My ISP email I've never even checked. No, I don't eat Domino's pizza. I eat some pizza once in a while. If it's sitting in front of me, it's kind of hard not to eat it. Right?
I'm a sucker for pizza.
And Michael loves pizza. And when you have a 13-year-old, a teenager, you often have pizza in the house. It's hard to resist. Hey, 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 how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk about computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography and smartphones and smartwatches, you know, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo's the number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Love to talk high tech with you. This is a show about a couple of things. A, understanding technology and understanding, even in the larger scope of things, how technology is affecting our lives, how the government is using technology against us, for instance, how to use technology better in a church, for instance, to let overflow audiences at a funeral see the show, how to use a computer or your email better at home. So a lot of it is that. A lot of it is answering your questions if you have a specific problem. That's why we give you the phone number, 8888 Ask Leo. Anything with tech. I love covering this stuff. I think it's a fascinating subject, partly because it's fun. It's the toy store, but it's also important. Technology is changing our lives. It's important that we understand it and use it appropriately and know when others are using it inappropriately so we can fight them. The website is a great resource too, techguylabs.com. We keep that with all the, in that website, all the questions, all the answers, audio and video from every show. Your comments. I have a pick of the week there, software tools, all sorts of stuff. And it's free. You don't have to sign up. You just go techguylabs.com. So if you hear something on the radio, you don't even have to write it down. You know, have faith that it will be there. James DeRuvo is writing it down right now as I speak. We then massage it a little bit. Josh Windish in my office kind of massages it a little bit more. And then you add your comments to it. So it's a great resource. Always open, always free, always available, 24/7, techguylabs.com. Chip, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Hi, Chip. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Oh, hi, Leo.
Hey, how are you?
Hi.
Hey, welcome.
Hey, I went to see the Jungle Book after you said it was good.
What'd you think?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was great. But there's a couple of tidbits on IMDb you probably don't know.
Okay.
It was filmed entirely in L.A.
Huh. Yeah, well, it didn't need to be in a jungle, did it? Because, in fact, there's video on YouTube you can see of Mowgli, who's the only human, the only person in it. And what they would do is build little tiny sets. Like there's a scene where he's in a muddy, trough, kind of getting away from the bad guys, and he gets all muddy. Well, the human actor has to get muddy for real. They're not going to fake that. So they made a muddy trough surrounded by green screens, and everything else is computer generated except for poor little kid Mowgli and the mud. Well, of course they can do that in L.A. They don't need to go to a jungle to do that. It's pretty amazing. Watch the YouTube videos. You'll be impressed with what I liked about it, and the reason I mentioned it yesterday is how well done the computer animation is. It's so good that you forget you're watching computer animation.
And you forget you're in L.A. because it's like
you think you're in the jungle, where snakes can talk, and panthers and bears and everything can talk. It's kind of amazing.
And I don't know if it's the director who makes the movie or the actor, but the director is John Favreau. He did Iron Man 1 and 2.
Yeah, I really like him a lot. John, of course, is most famous for the movie he made called Swingers many, many years ago. Broke him out as an actor, writer, and now he's mostly a director. And I think it was probably his vision to do this all in computer graphics, but of course with the great help of the Disney animators and animation groups like Weta out of New Zealand, WETA, which did The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings movies. Some really heavy-duty computer graphics in there.
And he was born in New York, Queens. He did a little background on that on the extras on Iron Man 2 when they filmed it over the World Fair. He graduated from Bronx Science. And
well, you looked up Jon Favreau on Wikipedia, I can tell.
Yeah.
Look, go see Swingers. Great movie. That was his breakout movie, and he did one recently called Chef that he starred in. That was, I thought, really good, really fun movie.
Oh, so you saw that one?
Oh, I love Jon Favreau. I've been a fan of his since Swingers, but I didn't go see The Jungle Book because of him. I saw The Jungle Book because I was very interested in the technology, and because I remembered the old Disney movie, and I was praying that they would not commit sacrilege, and they didn't. I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, so you saw it. You saw the little homage to Twitter, kind of.
Oh yeah,
like
in Chef. Yeah, they make their name on Twitter. That's right. Twitter is it's an interesting. There's another interesting story because Twitter has outsized impact. It's not as big as Facebook. Facebook has more than 1.6 billion monthly users. Twitter, closer to 300 million. So what is that? One fifth of that. But it's got some outsized impact. You see it now, of course, every TV show. They use Twitter voting on American Idol. I mean, Twitter is everywhere. It's an interesting story. Anyway, what's your question?
Okay, I just switched from Windows XP to Windows 10, so I've jumped over all the other rest.
Wow.
So one thing I really missed was that icon, the notification icon, the two monitors on the bottom right-hand corner on Windows XP, where you could mouse over and you could see where if your internet is working,
the system
it lights up.
The system tray. You still have that? You don't see that anymore?
It doesn't light up anymore, and I mouse over. It doesn't tell me how many packets are going through. So if my internet's down, I can't tell.
I didn't notice that. Well, the nice thing about Windows 10 is they do tell you, you can find out a lot more about your network usage and flow. I guess it's not showing it in the icon, but if you go to the settings menu, you can learn a lot about, much more than in Windows XP. So it doesn't, I haven't really noticed that. So in XP, I guess it would show you, as it does on many phones, it would show you, okay, we're talking to the internet now, it's going up, it's going down. It would light up like that?
Two monitors, yeah, it would be two monitors that it would light up. It doesn't light up anymore. I Googled every place. I don't even know what the
where's the light? This is a good question. There are companies, lots of them, that make add-ons that you could put in the system tray. And I will find one for you that will monitor or show you in a graphical way your internet traffic in the system tray. That's gotta be it. Apparently, according to Dale Poco in our chat room, it's been several versions of Windows. You skipped Vista. You skipped, what did he skip? Windows 8, good thing. Windows 7, that was a good one. You missed Windows 7. That was probably the best one in the bunch there. You missed Vista, which wasn't so hot. Windows 7. Windows 8, ooh. Windows 8.1 getting better. You skipped all of those. You went right to Windows 10. But it's been a few versions, apparently, since they stopped showing network traffic. But I guarantee you, we will find you, and I'm going to leave this to, and as an exercise for our chatters, something that you can run that will show in your system tray that will show you lights or any number of things. One of the reasons you don't need to do that, when Microsoft doesn't need to do that, is because there is a very rich ecosystem of third-party developers who do all sorts of stuff like that. All sorts of stuff like that. NetSpeed Monitor, says Steve in San Diego. NetSpeed Monitor. What we want is something that'll sit in the system tray and show you little green and red little arrows going up and down and tell you what's going on. Here's one, too. We'll put this all on the website, techguylabs.com. itsamples.com, Network Activity Indicator. I'm sure there's literally dozens of these. Dozens of them. 8888 Ask Leo. That's one of the nice things, I have to say, one of the really nice things about using an operating system that has a lot of users, and Windows has a lot of users. Windows 10, last time I checked, 110 million users of a brand new operating system or a year-old operating system. That's pretty good. And many, many, many more hundreds of millions of users starting with Windows XP and on. That means there's a lot of developers working on little tools and utilities, and so there's a rich, I hate to use the word ecosystem, a rich panoply of programs you can use. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Brandon in Springfield, Missouri. Hey, Brandon.
Hey, Leo.
How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Wait a minute. I already asked that. We're in a loop. What can I do for you? Oh, no.
I have an old laptop, like 2007, that has Windows 8 on it right now. Well, I figured out after a little bit that Windows 8 is really slow, and it's gotten to the point now where I can barely use it.
Yeah. How old are you, Brandon?
I'm 13.
So you're a young mind. You are flexible. You can still learn things. You're not an old dog yet.
Yep.
You're ready to learn new tricks?
Yep.
I think it's time for you to put Linux on that laptop.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. What kind of Linux do you want me to put on it?
I want you. Well, okay. Here's what I'm going to recommend. So let me explain what Linux is. Although I know by now I've flogged it enough that most people probably know it's a free, as in no cost, and more importantly, as in liberated operating system, not run in general by commercial entities, but created by the internet as a whole as an open source operating system. Linus Torvalds started the whole thing by writing a kernel, an operating systems kernel, in 1992. He was a Finnish grad student, was just doing it for educational purposes. But he did something interesting. He didn't patent it. He didn't say, I own it. He just trademarked the name Linux, because he's Linus and it's Linux. And then said, hey, everybody, if you want to work on it, here it is. And this coincided with the rise of the internet. So all of a sudden, people who were interested in working on it from all over the world could get involved. There was also a group out of Boston called the Free Software Foundation, headed by a guy named Richard Stallman, or RMS. He, at the same time, was trying to say, because Unix, which was the university operating system, the power operating system, was unfortunately owned by AT&T. But University of California said we have ownership in it. He wanted to make an unowned, open, free, this is where the word free came from, not free as in no cost, but liberated version of all the Unix utilities. And that's what he did. They called them the GNU, or GNU's not Linux, not Unix, GNU utilities. And when you get Linux, you're getting Linus Torvalds kernel, much updated over the years. The GNU utilities from the Free Software Foundation on top of that, applications on top of that, and then you get a graphic interface if you want. Now, a lot of if it's really a slow computer, you can just eliminate the graphical user interface, because that's what slows any computer down. If you're just using a command line, and if you're 13, you ought to use, or at least know how to use, the command line. Okay, that's the most powerful part of the whole thing. But if then anything, I mean, any computer can run a command line only. It's the GUI. So how heavy duty of a GUI do we want to put on top of it? Well, if it's an older computer, and yours is, you want to put something that's kind of lightweight.
Yeah.
So generally, for people who have older computers, by the way, old is good for Linux, because it's the new computers that are hard to get Linux working on, because they have new hardware. Drivers haven't been written by the enthusiast community yet, so they may not all work. But a computer from 2007, by now the Linux enthusiast community has written drivers for every bit of hardware in there. So getting it to work will not be challenging. Yep. My favorite version of Linux is not, as many might think, Ubuntu or the Ubuntu derivative Mint. Those are easiest to use, and Ubuntu does have a kind of lightweight version called X-Ubuntu that should run very nicely on that older system. But I think I want to go to the system that's Ubuntu's built on, called Debian, D-E-B-I-A-N for you.
Yep.
And I'll tell you why. Debian is kind of the root of Ubuntu, and I think is a truer to to the GNU Linux philosophy. Ubuntu is really a commercial entity at this point. So what I would recommend is you're going to have to do a little research on the internet. You're going to want to Google your laptop specifically, and you're going to want to find out, well, what's the video card? What kind of processor? Most importantly, probably, what kind of internet chip is in there? Is there Wi-Fi in that laptop?
Yes, it has built-in Wi-Fi.
You're going to need to find out, is it Broadcom, Atheros? Who makes that Wi-Fi, okay? Because you want to make sure that there's support for it in the distribution you're going to use. What I would try is Debian, and probably when you download Debian, you can choose which GUI you want on top of it, and you're going to use probably XFCE. That's the same one that's in Xubuntu, and it's very lightweight. Should run very easily. It's not very pretty. It's not super pretty, but it won't take up a lot of resources. So if you really want to make it easy, Xubuntu's fine. But you're at the beginning of a great voyage of discovery and technology, aren't you? I mean, I envy you. I wish I were 13 now, man. And now is a great time to learn how Unix works, because Linux is essentially a kind of Unix now. How it works, how everything interoperates, all the different pieces and puzzles. That means you're going to break. Some things are going to break, and you're going to have to figure it out and fix them. But everything's out there on Google, and you can learn it all. So I think Debian would be a good kind of middle ground for you. If you really want to get geeky, there's Linux's for the hardcore, the gray, they call them the graybeards. That would be Gentoo, Gentoo. It's a kind of penguin. Linux is all about penguins, by the way. I don't know why. So Gentoo is really a good one, or Arch, A-R-C-H. But those, now if you really wanted to learn how all this works, Arch would be a great choice for you. But you have to build your system from scratch with both Gentoo and Arch. You have to do it bit by bit. Maybe that's too much work at this point. Start with Debian and XFCE, okay?
Yeah.
I think you'll like it. And then stay in touch. What do you want to do? What do you like doing with your computer?
Well, I have a desktop, a really nice desktop that I have Windows 8 on now, which is what I'm using.
And it's good for you to know Windows. Don't get me wrong, you should know how Windows works. But if are you interested in programming at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am.
If you're a programmer, you need to understand command line, you need to understand Unix. And the best way to do this would be to kind of put Linux on your system. And by the way, Minecraft still runs. You're not going to be able to play. You're not going to be able to play. Team Fortress probably. You're not. I mean, some of the games that you might play on Windows, you're going to keep a Windows machine for that purpose, if that's what you do.
Yep.
But Minecraft works fine.
Well.
And then you can run a Minecraft server.
Yeah. Well, that was initially my plan, because I have a Minecraft server on my...
How did I know?
Because I'm 13.
That's right.
Well, I have a Minecraft server on my Windows machine, but what happens is I run... when I run the Minecraft server, I give it 4 gigs of RAM.
Yeah. And Windows is taking up so much. Yeah. So that's where you're running on the command line. Are you using Spigot as your server, or the official Minecraft?
I'm the vanilla, because it's just me and a couple friends. I don't need Spigot.
Wait till you get Linux, you'll learn how to use Spigot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's fun, though. That's a good... See, and you had to do port forwarding, right? And there's all sorts of things you learn. This is great. People poo-poo Minecraft. I think if you get into it as you have, it becomes hugely educational. Now you're going to learn Python, because there's a Python interface so that you can build stuff in Minecraft with a program you write in Python, and now it all begins. And the world is your oyster. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. That's awesome, Brandon. So you're already running a Minecraft server. So if you figured out how to do that, this will be this is going to be easy for you.
I was actually kind of sad that you said you didn't like Mint, because that's actually what I've been looking at.
Mint's fine. Here, let me tell you why I don't like it. Mint's great, and Mint is really good for people who are coming from Windows, because it's like Windows. There are some technical reasons why I don't recommend it that I'll tell you. Okay, because you'll understand it. So here's what happened. The guys who did Mint really just wrote the Cinnamon desktop. That's all they did. And so they've created a new distribution of Linux basically so that for their desktop. But then they did some things that I strongly disagree with. They locked down some key components of Linux so that the developers, they call them upstream, the people who wrote the software upstream, we're down at the bottom of the stream, the people upstream can't update the software on Mint. And that's a security nightmare. So you don't want to use a distribution of Linux that has dependencies that block you from updating it. Because then you're potentially vulnerable. It's also just philosophically a bad thing to do. So I just disagree with the developers of Mint. What they should do, and really all they need to do, is they've got a great desktop manager. And actually, I don't know if they use, I think they use Lite. But then they also have a great desktop environment, which is Cinnamon. Work on that, guys. That's fine. And by the way, you can run Cinnamon on Debian. When you install Debian, just choose Cinnamon. That's Mint. The other thing the Mint guys do, which I also disagree with, is they distribute, to make it easy for Windows users, non-free things like Flash and stuff, because it's a violation of the GPL. You can't, there's things you shouldn't really do. And so they said, oh, screw it. We're going to put all the drivers and all the codecs and everything so that somebody it's to make a Windows user feel comfortable. But you don't need that.
Yeah.
Mint is for mom and dad. You should learn the Mint's Debian at the bottom. It's just they've done, then Ubuntu did stuff, and now Mint does stuff. And it really isolates you from what you really need, which is access to the system so you can keep it up to date and secure. If you want a really stable system, use Debian Jessie. That's their long-term support version. So that one, they don't do bleeding edge updates. But I think you should use Stretch. That's what I use at home. That one, you'll get updates all the time. So you're using the most current version of everything. The reason that some people don't want that is because sometimes it might break something. And then you have to figure out what happened here. And you clean it up. But that's going to be that's what you need to do. That's how you learn.
Yeah. I should tell you, I debated getting a Raspberry Pi, put Rasmium on it, and run a Minecraft server off of that.
Raspbian is Debian.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah, okay, then. That'd be great. $35. Run your server on it. It's not very powerful. It's more, but you know, I mean, it's a great learning machine. And by the way, the Python and the API come with that. So writing software on a Raspberry Pi is all built in. It's easy.
Yep.
You are smart.
Well, I did not know that Rasmium and
Raspbian is Debian for the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the neat thing about Linux. You can take a distro and you can say, oh, I'm going to modify it here and modify it. And that's what the Mint guys did. But I think the Mint guys went too far. So for you, because you're smart, I mean, if it were mom and dad, get them Mint, that's fine. But for you, you should really start with, at the the easiest that you should start with is Debian or Raspbian. And then actually, you know, then once you get comfortable with Linux, then you might want to play with Arch or Gentoo.
Yeah.
And you can find out why there's controversy over Mint. You'll see. It's all on the internet. That's what's cool. You can read it all. Have fun, Brandon. I got to run. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, thanks.
Stay in touch. Our show today brought to you by those good folks at Wealthfront. Here's the problem. Everybody knows you ought to be saving money. Maybe you don't know this. Don't put it in a savings account. Nowadays, man, I can't believe how low it's almost like negative interest rates, frankly, on the savings accounts these days. You got to invest it if you're going to grow your money so that you have it when you retire, when the kids go to college, when you want to buy that house, whatever it is you're saving for. The best place for long-term investments, Wealthfront. Wealthfront. Now, so if you get an investment advisor, a human investment advisor, normally it's like 1%, 2%, 3% of the money you have under management every year goes to them. That's how much more you have to make just to break even. That is not easy. Sometimes these humans will lose your money, frankly. Wealthfront's a better way. First of all, it's not a human. It's based on the best human research, Nobel Prize-winning economic theory. Some of the best people in the business, people like Burton Malkiel and Charles D. Ellis, these guys wrote the books on investment. But what they've done is they've encapsulated all their knowledge into software. And the software isn't monitoring your account every day or every week or every month. It's monitoring your account constantly all the time, rebalancing, maximizing your return, minimizing your tax consequences. They call it tax loss harvesting. And it's sophisticated stuff that's hard for a human to do. Certainly, a human who's managing 50 clients isn't going to be able to do it, but that's the beauty of computers. Wealthfront does it. Automated long-term investment. And man, does it work. I want you to take a look. Go to wealthfront.com/techguy. There's a couple of things you can do before you invest. And I recommend you do this. Of course, read up on what they're doing. They're using EFTs to make sure that you can get in every sector to diversify properly. This is really smart stuff. They also will give you a sample portfolio. So part of what makes Wealthfront special is they do a very quick questionnaire. They figured out exactly what questions to ask you about your time frame, about your risk aversion, that kind of thing. So they get a sense of what you need, and then they'll design a portfolio for you. So do that at least. That's free. Wealthfront.com/techguy. They have a new thing now where they'll review your existing portfolio, and they'll give you information about, you know, how risky it is compared to your desires, how diversified it is, what your fees are. I mean, sometimes these fees are killing any profits you're making, and they're kind of invisible, so you can't tell. Wealthfront.com/techguy. That is all free. If you decide after reading up that you think this is right for you, and I think you will, you can get started with as little as $500. And this is a very nice little treat. Your first $15,000 will be managed free of charge forever, but only if you go to wealthfront.com/techguy. Okay? That is a great deal. That means a really good start to that nest egg. If you're young and watching this, this is what I tell my kids. I tell you, if you start now, because of compounding, you will be in so much better shape in a decade or two. I know that seems like a long time to you. It is not. Trust me. Even if you're my age, you better to start now than never, right? But if you're in your 20s and you're not doing this, you're making a mistake. Wealthfront.com/techguy. Wealthfront.com/techguy. There's no wonder they've got more than $3 billion now in client assets under management. It really works. There he is, our Kodachrome guy, Chris Marquardt. Hey, Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Not shooting Kodachrome anymore. There's no Kodachrome anymore.
What?
They took it away from us.
Well, at least they still make Tri-X and other Kodak film. Kodak still makes film.
Kodak still makes quite a bunch of different films. Yeah, they're still good in the business. Yep.
I have to admit, you convinced me to get film cameras, and I have a couple now. I love them.
What?
They're works of art, but I rarely use them. So much work.
You know what?
What?
The Film Photography Handbook is out now.
You wrote a book on film photography?
Yes, we did. Me and my other half did, and it's out. If you go to thefilmphotographyhandbook.com.
The Film Photography.
Actually, there should be one on the way to you. Right now.
Good. Well, maybe I'll have to break out that old Leica M3 and the Rolleiflex and start shooting some film.
That's not really what I wanted to talk about, but there is a giveaway on that page. So if anyone wants to go and have a chance to win one, thefilmphotographyhandbook.com. That's where.
Nice.
That's where.
So I know you have taught workshops on this, and you convinced me it was a good idea. And so is Monica a photographer as well?
Oh yes, she is. She is not a professional photographer, but actually better than I am most dare time.
I know what you mean. My wife's a better photographer than me too. Our better halves are often better. How dare they?
That's why they're called the better halves, right? In every respect. No, what I wanted to talk about today is, you know the phenomenon, and I'm pretty sure this has happened to you also, that you went somewhere like where some landscape photography was involved, and you thought, oh, I better get a really wide lens.
I did that, exactly, yes.
And then you end up looking at your pictures going, that's not really what I was expecting. Yeah. The pictures come out differently than you expect.
Everything's so
the question
small and distant. It's no
can
good.
There be too much wide angle? And the truth is yes, definitely. I see this all the time on tours, especially when I do a photo tour and there's landscape photography involved, which there often is, that someone brings just a freshly purchased super wide angle lens, like a week before the vacation, they go get a wide angle lens, and then they assume that things would look the same as they see with their own eyes, but it's a different thing. So a wide-angle lens gives you a wide angle. That's why it's called that way. So it gives you more to see on the picture. So it emphasizes the angle. But the problem with wide-angle lenses is that they will also emphasize the depth in the picture. So the things have certain proportions. When you look at things with your eye, the things have certain proportions when they recede into the distance. if you look through a wide-angle lens, that is emphasized. The depth is much deeper. So the things that are
Wait a minute,
far
I gotta
away,
understand this. Okay.
Yeah.
the things. Go ahead. It's the things that are far away.
The things that are far away
are really far away.
Even further away than you see them with your eyes.
Kind of small.
You know, the problem is people keep saying that, you know, if you get a 50mm lens, it's the same way your eyes see the world around you. That is not really the truth because it has a different angle of view. But now you want to make this angle of view bigger. Our eyes see like 180 degrees. I mean, we have a really wide field of view. So we buy a lens that has that wide field of view, but it shows us the proportions, the size of, the relation of the sizes of things that go into the distance in a very different way than our eyes. So pretty much what that means is it does not translate. What we see with our eyes does not translate to wide-angle lenses, and we need to learn to handle them. So if you get a wide-angle lens,
a lot of people buy a zoom lens, right? Because then they can zoom in and out till it matches their expectations.
It should, but again, the angle is the discrepancy between the angle that you get with your eyes and the angle that you get with the lens compared to the way the depth is portrayed. That is the real problem, and that is where disappointment comes from. So you really need to learn how your wide-angle lens behaves. You really need to learn how the thing shows you the world around you, and that it is different from your eyes. So practice, practice, practice. I mean, we get back to that same thing over and over again. You have to develop a feel for how that wide-angle lens is going to show the world around you.
I think really what you're saying is, let me try to translate. No matter what kind of lens you use, a camera doesn't duplicate what you see. Period.
Never.
Never.
Never, pretty much.
Never. Whether it's how big things are, how bright things are. You look at a sunset, for instance, you can see the sand, you can see the sun, you see everything. The camera will say, well, I can only see one or the other. I can't see both.
That is very likely, yeah. And
so you have to adjust. I guess part of the experience of getting better at photography is taking a lot of pictures and kind of learning that what you see and what the camera see are different, and understanding what the camera is seeing. Is that right?
That is very right. And learn the tricks. Learn by just doing and looking at tutorials and reading books and whatever. That learn the tricks, how you can kind of recreate the things that you actually feel when you look at a scene, because you kind of have to use a few tricks. And over the next weeks, I'm gonna bring out some of those tricks. So we'll look at some differences and see how we can compensate for that.
There is no substitute though for taking a lot of pictures, frankly.
No, you have to spend time with anything. Yeah. If you play the trumpet and you have a concert, you better practice. And it's the same with photography.
It's so funny because it seems easy. And so we think, oh, I could just sit down. I wouldn't ever sit down at a violin and say, oh, this looks pretty easy. Let me just play a fiddle out of tune. You would never do that. But a camera feels, I know. Camera feels so easy that you think, oh, and everybody takes pictures. But there is some skill and technique.
Oh, and it is easy. I mean, the technology takes a lot of decisions for us, and it kind of makes it easy to get a picture. But there's always that those additional 20% that you kind of add to a picture that will make it a different picture.
Well, one way, take more pictures, and that's one of the reasons we do this assignment every month. And we're still taking dirty pictures, right?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of soil-related pictures.
Soil. Oh, good. That's different.
I'm proud of our listeners here.
They didn't go down that road, is what you're saying. Yeah, Leo did.
No.
Yeah.
Well, now maybe they will.
No.
We have moderators there. I will review the pictures in 2 weeks from now. So on the 15th, that will be the date.
Let me explain how this works. It's not a contest. There's no prize. It's really just an assignment to get you out there taking pictures, because that's how you get better. What we'd like you to do for this particular assignment is take pictures of soil, whatever that means to you. The word, the concept, the idea of soil. So
soil. The dirt is really the word.
Dirt's the word
we're looking for.
Not soil, dirt. Okay. The reason I said soil is, not dirty, it's dirt.
Interpretation.
Yeah. And then anything that has to do with soil or dirt, take a picture. By the way, tag it with the word soil or dirt. I'm sorry, tag it with the word dirt and upload it to Flickr. Now, Flickr's free. It's a photo sharing site. We love it. We have a Tech Guy group there, so you're going to need to submit it to the Tech Guy group. Renee Silverman, our moderator, will look at it and say, "Oh, that's dirt, not dirty," and we'll add it to the pool. And then in 2 weeks, Chris is going to go through the pool, pick 3 pictures he really likes, and then 1 from me, and that he doesn't like so much, but he, diplomatically, he has to mention it. And then we'll talk about it in 2 weeks. And it's a weird thing to talk about pictures on the radio, but it is a great way to get you taking pictures. And by the way, don't have to have a fancy camera. You can use your phone. But get out there, take pictures. It's fun. I've been taking some pictures of dirt, but I haven't submitted any yet. It's hard to do.
Well, I'm looking forward to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking macro for me. I have my camera's wide angle, but I'm thinking I can use the macro part of it.
Macro textures, interesting light coming from the side, bringing out the text. Yeah, kneel in the dirt. Yeah,
and don't forget everybody, that picture. The film photography. If you want to do film photography, the filmphotographyhandbook.com. Chris's website is discoverthetopfloor.com. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. More calls right after this. Or throw some dirt in the air. Somebody said. Start clicking. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, 8888. Ask Leo. Chris in Miami, you're next. Hey, Chris.
Hey.
Hey, come on over to the phone. That's good. No, you should get things done while you're in hold because it's a long time. I understand.
It's really not a long time, to be honest with you. I don't mind. I've waited hours.
I know, Chris. You probably the total amount of time you spend on hold with this show exceeds the amount of time you spend with your family.
Well, you know what? That is absolutely true. I mean, I should have a brick at the brick house.
We will put a memorial brick for Chris. Hey. We'll have a picture of you just sitting bored on the hold on the phone. What can I do for you?
Well, you know what? Well, for one thing, that salad of yours, boy, I thought I could make a salad, but no one makes a salad like you. That thing is like direct from the Whole Foods market.
I know. Isn't it beautiful? Chris is watching the video feed, so if you watch the video feed, you see what's going on during the commercials, and in this case, it's me eating my healthy salad.
Live from Whole Foods market. We don't talk about that anymore. Yeah. So, no, I watch all your shows all the time.
You do?
The week.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you. I think people maybe don't know. We do the radio show, of course, Saturdays and Sundays. It's 3 hours each. Yeah. But then I do a bunch of other shows for a total of maybe, 25 or 30 hours of tech-focused content all week long. We do a news roundtable, talk about the Mac, we talk about Windows, talk about security. Yeah, so it's, I guess because, I like talking about tech, and I can't stop, frankly.
We don't want you to stop.
It's
and
kind
we
of
don't
a problem.
Want you to retire. Yeah.
I keep eating these salads. I might go for a little longer. I'm hoping.
Oh, you could go longer. You're not old. You're always talking about you dying, but you're not dying.
I'm not going to die. I'm just going to get old and then fade away, as all broadcasters do.
We need our Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Always. You remember that.
You're very kind. I love what I'm doing, and I would love to keep doing it as long as I can. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So I've been on the phone a week with Apple, and I'm just trying to figure out, you know what? Nothing is local anymore. Everything is on the cloud. I'm kind of getting fed up with this. And I know this is all you folks talk about over there in Petaluma. Everybody's talking about it, where everything's got to be in the cloud. And it's like, if the cloud goes down, then I'm stuck. But they don't think about that.
Well, so here's the deal with the cloud. You really have to your mindset has to change. Remember, first of all, that this is not new. In the earliest days of computing, nobody could afford to own a computer. You could at best own a terminal, and usually it wasn't you that personally owned the terminal. It was your school or your business. And the terminal itself had very little smarts. It was connected via, remember, time sharing to a big computer somewhere else. And that's how we computed until the personal computer revolution of the late 70s. Along came a relatively affordable, although they were still very expensive, thousands of dollars, computers you could put on your desk, and you couldn't do much with them, but at least you owned a computer. And so hobbyists tended to buy these until 1981. And that's when IBM released the first PC. The IBM PC wasn't running Windows. There was no Windows. It was running a command line, black and white screen called DOS, Disk Operating System. But businesses bought them because they could run spreadsheets. The idea of a software spreadsheet was even a new concept. At first VisiCalc and then Lotus 1, 2, 3. And that changed how people did business and kept track of accounts and balanced checkbooks and all of that. So we gradually got to the point where the computing power on our desk equaled those old mainframes and then exceeded them. Your personal computer today is a supercomputer. And what's even more interesting is the computer you use the most probably isn't on your desk or even in your lap. It's in your pocket. And the phone in our pockets today is easily as powerful as the most powerful mainframe computers of days gone by. More storage, more processor capacity. And yet we've gone back in some ways to the old days of the mainframe somewhere out there and our terminals somewhere here. Mostly not for computing. We have the computational power now in our hands and our laps and our desks, but for our storage. And there's a reason for this. There's a commercial reason, of course, but I think companies trying to make money on it. But the real reason is because we have many devices. So when you have a phone and a laptop and a tablet and a desktop, and there's a computer at home and a computer at work, it doesn't make sense for each of them to store a copy of your data. It's inefficient. And it's hard. Remember in the early days of Windows, remember Microsoft had that little thing called the Microsoft briefcase? Do you remember that? And when you were going to go home from work, you would copy your work files, you drag them into the briefcase, then you drag the briefcase onto a floppy disk, and then you bring the floppy disk home, and then you put the floppy disk in your machine at home, and you drag the contents of the briefcase out. That was a very primitive way of kind of duplicating the stuff at work and the stuff at home. It didn't work very well. There were companies called Laplink. Remember them? They sold a box that had a big cable in the box. You would connect your laptop to your computer before you hit the road, and you'd synchronize your laptop with your computer so that you'd have your data on the laptop. Well, those were really primitive and not very good solutions. The cloud's a better solution. But at no point should you ever think of the cloud as being your sole place of data. That's not what the cloud's for. You still want local data. It's much better to think of the cloud as a backup, or it could be a single source that you work on, but you want to make sure that, remember, my backup rule is one copy of anything is not safe. It's at risk. And I don't care if the copy is in the cloud or on your computer. If that's one copy of your spreadsheet that you're using at home and at work and on your phone is in the cloud, that's not good. That's dangerous. As you say, Chris, the internet could go down. You wouldn't have access to it. It could get deleted or damaged, and you wouldn't have it anymore. So just as we need to back up our computers locally, we also need to back up our cloud. And that is an easy thing to do because in almost every case, cloud services allow you to take your data from the cloud and keep it on your computer. Google Docs is a good example. Google Docs, all the Google Docs apps have an offline setting. You could turn on the offline setting. And so if you're using Google Docs, the spreadsheet, the word processor, the slideshow program, or just using the data, you can have it be duplicated locally. And I would do that. That's your now your local copy is in some ways your backup. I use Google Drive as storage, cloud storage. But I also have the Google Drive app on my Mac right here, and it copies it all down. And when I open an application, it either opens it locally, or if it sees there's an internet connection, it goes to the internet connection, the cloud version, and it makes sure those stay in sync. Most cloud solutions have this, somehow have this built in, so that it doesn't matter whether you use the local version or the cloud version, they will stay in sync. That's the challenging thing. By the way, that's the hard thing to do. Something Apple is not really good at. And so a number of people with, for instance, Apple's Photos. You have Apple Photos on your iPhone, Apple Photos on your desktop. And then, of course, the photos are stored in your iCloud if you turn on the Apple Photo Drive, iCloud Photo Drive, whatever they call it. But sometimes weird things happen and photos disappear. It's happened to me. It's happened to a lot of people I know. That's because Apple's not really good at these services. So if it is Apple you're using as your cloud provider, I would say that maybe it'd be a good idea to also use another company, whether it's Microsoft's Cloud Drive or Google's Cloud Drive. Use another company. I use Google Photos and Apple Photos. That way, if Apple Photos deletes it, I still have a copy on Google. Apple, for the first time, they had their quarterly earnings call this past week. And for the first time ever, said they've made more money in services, $9 billion in services, than they made in hardware sales. This is a complete sea change for Apple. Until now, Apple was a hardware company, and everything else, software, services, everything else they did was to support the sale of hardware. Well, Apple has recognized the world is changing. Yes, we're still going to make a lot of money on hardware, but we need to make sure our cloud services are robust, and because they're a profit center and people depend on it. They're not good at it. Sad to say. I wish they were. They're not. They ought to be. This is the company that says things just work. Well, yeah, but not the cloud. The cloud has, starting with, remember Mobile Me? Such a failure, Steve Jobs called the entire team into the auditorium at the Apple campus and said, "You have ruined the company's reputation. You're all fired." He fired the entire team, brought in a new team. They came up with iCloud. They should be fired too, to be honest with you. No, they're nice people. But they haven't done the best job. I'm not sure why. It's not that Apple doesn't have the money or the resources to throw at this. It's just, I think it's because as a company, it's not in their heritage. It's not in their DNA. It is for Google. It is for Amazon. You can trust their services and use them as an adjunct. That's what I would do. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Not sure it's true for Microsoft either. Well, Microsoft has been a cloud services company for a lot longer than Apple. They still have trouble with OneDrive. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk about computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography and smartphones and smart watches and virtual reality visors and all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is the number. Windows and Mac and Linux too. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Call us from anywhere else. Just use Skype and you should be able to reach us. Tim in San Diego. Hi, Tim. You're next. Hello, Tim. All right, I'm going to put you, let's see. I think I pressed this button, and then I pressed this button, and now he's on hold. It's a magical thing. We have a great phone system, but it's a complicated phone system, and I'm just learning how to use it. Kevin in Tampa, Florida. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Leo. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
All right. Big fan. Love Twit.
Thank you.
Hey, so my question is two parts. One I want to share, and the other one I want to have a question about.
I love shares.
So you guys been talking about Let's Encrypt, especially you and Scott.
Yeah, let me explain what Let's Encrypt is, because this is a kind of higher-end subject. When you go to a website, browsing to an http:// the traffic that you, the conversation, let's say you're having a conversation, because you kind of are. You request some data from the website sends it to you, you request more, it sends you more, back and forth. Conversation. That conversation is visible to anybody along the way. Even somebody who's sitting in a Wi-Fi, coffee shop with you and you're on an open Wi-Fi. It's all being sent through the air and then through the internet. Unencrypted, unscrambled, it's completely visible. Of course, that's potentially a problem. And at first, when people started doing online shopping and banking, they didn't want people to see their credit card number or their banking password. So a secure system was created that allowed us to talk to websites, have that conversation in a way that no one could snoop on it. It's encrypted. It's scrambled. Using technology, you'll have to take our word for it, that's very good, that keeps people from breaking into it. When you do a site like that, it's HTTPS for secure, and it uses something called SSL or TLS for the encryption. And the way it works, the way it has to work, is the website has to have a key, a public key that's published. You have to have a public key, and you have to exchange certificates so that you can encrypt and they can read it, and vice versa. So those certificates are a requirement. If a website wants to have secure traffic, they have to go to a certificate authority. These are people who are, anointed to be able to make these certificates, to make these secure transactions. The problem is typically it's very expensive. It's complicated. Most websites said, who cares? Until about a year ago, Google said, well, we care. And we think all website traffic should be encrypted. And if you don't encrypt your website traffic, we're not going to rank you as high in search results. Oh, boy. Everybody went, whoa, that's a penalty. If I don't do this, I better get on it and do it. The problem was it's expensive. No individual. You're not going to do it just because. Until along comes Let's Encrypt. And this is what you were talking about. And I'm sorry to have to sidetrack the conversation a little bit, Kevin, but I want everybody to understand what we're talking about. Let's Encrypt was brilliant. It gives you a very easy way to get a free certificate. And it's heavily sponsored by Google and the Electronic Frontier Foundation and Mozilla, Facebook, bunch of companies put money into this. It's fairly easy for somebody running a web server to just go and run some scripts and get a certificate. Boom. Now, when you communicate with them, your browser says, oh, it's a secure site. It's HTTPS. Nobody can snoop. It's wonderful. And in fact, they've only been online officially for a few months. They have given now websites now 2 million certificates, which is fabulous. And so more and more sites are encrypted, including, by the way, if you use WordPress.com as a blogging site, all WordPress sites are now encrypted via Let's Encrypt. So, Kevin, that's the story. We've got everybody up to the present. What's your question or suggestion?
Well, the thing is, I do web hosting, and I love the idea of having all those sites encrypted. And so I sought out to look for a cPanel version.
Kind of like WordPress.com's doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I found the website, Let's Encrypt-for-cpanel.com. And they sell a plugin, for lack of a better word here, to install on your WHMS/cPanel server, and it allows...
I better explain all this. cPanel is short for control panel. A lot of people who run servers use cPanel as an easy way for them to maintain and manage those servers. And so it would be really nice if Let's Encrypt would just you'd have a button on your interface at cPanel that said, okay, let's use certificates. Because it's not trivial. I mean, installing a certificate on a website takes a little bit of expertise, and and if you're going to do it on a bunch of sites, that's even more complicated, right?
So this website, this app plugin allows you to do just that.
Nice.
Throws a icon on your cPanel.
Who's providing this? Is it the Let's Encrypt folks, or is it some other person?
It's not, and that's where my question comes into play.
Yeah.
They're using Let's Encrypt, and they're very clear on here that they're not associated with them, but that they use their service to offer this up.
Yeah, I mean, the Let's Encrypt stuff is really just a bunch of scripts that run, that do all the stuff you would do by hand, but it makes it easy for somebody to do it. And in fact, it really only works with Apache easily. It's hard to do if you're not using the Apache web server. So this seems like a good idea. They just modified the scripts to work with cPanel.
And it works great. I mean, I literally log into a cPanel account, click on the icon, put checkboxes next to the sites I want to put SSLs on, say issue, and less than 12, 13 seconds, you have a secure site. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who these guys are, but
that's my fear.
Yeah, I mean, so there is potential for harm here if they're, doing something, shenanigans behind the scenes and they're in script. I would guess that they're not, but I'd like to know who they are and so forth. They charge you for this, so it's a business. Right. On the other hand, that's not unreasonable. They only charge $30. It's not super expensive.
No, or $150, I think, for unlimited servers. And You're paying for the software, the plugin. You're not actually paying for the encryption.
Right, because Let's Encrypt is free. Right. Well, it is open source, so you can look at you could go to GitHub if you had the skills to look at what they're doing. And I think that is reassuring. Now, you may not personally have the skills. I don't, certainly, to look at their project and read the code and say, oh, yeah, I see what they're doing. But somebody, I would hope, would look at this and give us some. Tell you what, if it's written in Go, okay, that's good. So you wouldn't do this if you really were nefarious, right? You're not going to publish the code if it's something that you feel like there's stuff going on behind the scenes. So I think that's probably a pretty good indicator. Now, yeah, I'd be more nervous if we're completely closed source, if you couldn't read what they're doing. Now, having said that, it's certainly the case that there are open source projects out there, crypto projects, that have never been audited by somebody skilled enough to look at the code in great detail and pinpoint problems. And so just by itself, having it be open source doesn't guarantee it. But this isn't very complicated. I would say that's pretty encouraging. The fact that they're publishing this all means they're probably not up to no good.
Great. That's what I wanted to hear.
Best I can offer you. I'm not skilled enough to read it all. It's, by the way, not just understanding the programming code, but really looking for sneaky little tricks in the back door and so forth. But the fact that it's open source, I think you probably should trust it. What a great idea. I think that's great, Kevin. And congratulations for offering secure servers for your clients. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I probably, what I would do, Kevin, is I would also make sure that the cert comes from Let's Encrypt.
It is. It's coming from them.
As long as it's their cert, I'm trying to think of what kind of nefarious things they could do. The worst thing would be to fake a certificate that they had access to. But as long as it's truly a Let's Encrypt certificate, and you look at the certificate and you say, yeah, all those certificates are going right back to Let's Encrypt. That's the CA and everything. There's no way they could then. I wonder what could they? Yeah, and I think Let's Encrypt is issuing it to you, right? Not to them.
That's correct. I mean, the thing I was worried about is that they could keep the private key.
Yeah, but that's what I'm asking. Is it going through them or no? You're running the script locally. Basically, they're selling you this code that you're running locally. You're not running it through their servers.
Okay, that makes sense. Yep, good point. Gotcha.
So I don't think, they could, of course, sneakily put in some sneaky code that would send it off to them. But it would be obvious. I mean, even a fairly cursory scan through the source code you'd say, oh, well, I wonder why they're sending this over there. So I just looked through it. It looks very straightforward. What you want to do is make sure that at no point does their code contact their server. In which case, you're just buying the software from them. And by the way, you don't even have to because it's open source.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to turn it off. It says full-featured 72-hour trial available for single server, and I'm willing to pay the $30.
It's worth it.
It's absolutely.
It's somebody put some effort into doing this. I was trying to use Let's Encrypt on my Mac, and the support they say is very beta, and the scripts don't work out of the box, and it's non-trivial to go through their scripts, what Let's Encrypt's doing, and making it all work. I'll get it working eventually, but. So they put some effort into this. This is that's good.
Yeah, I hope everybody who's running cPanel, there's a lot of big companies out there.
Yeah, I used to run cPanel. That makes it so easy.
It does. I mean, if you ever get a chance, check it out because
I will.
It's a 15-second process to get an SSL,
right.
And from somebody who's been doing it a long time, doing it manually.
I know, isn't it awesome? I know. Well, I have my Mac servers at home. Running Minecraft and a few other services, I want to have it secure. I want to have a certificate on it. And the fact that I can just do that at no cost. And by the way, you need to use Let's Encrypt's scripts because they are only 3-month certificates. So there's you have to every 3 months redo it. So you're not going to want to do that by hand every 3 months.
No, I don't know what's the either. I saw that. I was wondering about that.
Yeah, that's fine. But it means that you probably wouldn't use Let's Encrypt unless the scripts worked or the cPanel worked flawlessly because you don't want every 3 months to do it by hand. That would be a pain in the butt.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. I'm glad you called. I did not know about this. I'll mention it to Steve, and maybe Steve will take a look at it. Yeah. Actually, Steve listens to the show. He's probably listening right now. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks.
All right. See you. Mayday, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Tim in San Diego. Hi, Tim.
Good afternoon. How you doing, Leo?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Hey, before on one of your shows, you had recommended for people that were just doing email and light browsing, things like that, that a Chromebook might be a good option.
Absolutely.
You feel that way?
Yes. Okay. So until recently, if you wanted a computer, you had to buy a very complicated, general purpose computing device. The same device a scientist might use to design a rocket ship or a filmmaker might use to edit a movie. Even though you just want to get email and browse the web, you still need to buy this elaborate thing, which costs more money, is more complicated to run, more prone to error, and poses security issues. That's people buying Windows and Mac. But as of, a few years ago, Google started offering this brilliant, I think. At first, I was very skeptical, by the way. And I even had a long conversation with Sundar Pichai, who at the time was running Chrome OS, is now the CEO of Google, saying, this is crazy. Why would you buy a computer that is only a browser? But he defended it, and I paid attention, and over time I've really come around to it. The great thing about Chrome OS, that's the operating system, it's a very robust, well-written, secure operating system. And if anything goes wrong, all Chromebooks have this power wash feature. You press a button. It's a software button, but you press a button, it reboots, and you're back to the way it was. You don't have to have a disk. You don't have to do anything. And if any malware is on the machine, it was wiped out. And by the way, you can't even get malware on a machine. It has a secure boot system. It will not let you install modified software in any way. I mean, it's locked down. And if what you're doing is, if you could do everything you want to do today on a Chrome browser, then this is a perfect choice for you. And for most people, that's exactly what they should be using.
Does it in any way affect her email? If she doesn't have an email account, she still uses Outlook and older.
Yeah, so she won't. So you won't be able to if you use Outlook, and you have to have an email that you can use on the web, whether it's through Outlook Web Access, that would work fine, or Gmail or Yahoo Mail. Nowadays, most internet service providers have web access to their email, so you can't run a standalone web client. You can't run Outlook or Microsoft Office. You have to run software that's designed to run in the browser, like Google Docs, which give you a full office. You have a word processor, spreadsheets, slide presentations, all that. Or an email server like Google Mail that runs in the browser. So do you know who her email, it's not what client she's using, it's what provider she's using. Who's her email?
She's using our internet provider's email.
Yeah, so I bet you they have a web, you have to check. See, like every Roadrunner, Comcast, they all have email that you can get it to on the web. Verizon uses Yahoo email, and they're going to be using AOL email. So those are all web-based email. As long as you can open a browser. In fact, this is the test. If you can open your Windows or Mac machine, launch Chrome, and do everything you want in Chrome without exiting, then you could use a Chromebook.
Okay.
Now, the other advantage of Chromebooks besides security and reliability is they're cheap, because they're not complicated machines.
That's always a good thing for those applications. Does she need 2 gigabytes of RAM, 4? Does it matter?
I think Chromebooks should come with 4 gigabytes. Most of them do not. The more memory just means it's going to be faster. But you're balancing that with price. More importantly, some of the Chromebooks are kind of cheap, plasticky devices. There's a new one just came out from Acer. It's aluminum. And it's still fairly inexpensive. It's kind of a mid-range. Up to now, Chromebooks, there have been two choices. There have been really cheap $200 Chromebooks that are like netbooks. They're plasticky and cheap. Not a great screen, not a great trackpad, kind of an inadequate keyboard. Or you spend $1,000 and get Google's Chromebook Pixel, which is beautiful but hideously expensive. But now there are some mid-range Chromebooks that are in the, say, $300 to $500 or $600 range that are excellent. And the best of these, I think, Dell makes some, but the new Chromebook, 14-inch Chromebook from Acer is spectacular. $300 for the base model. It's a 14-inch screen, 1920 by 1080. It's not touch. You can buy touch for a little more money. 4 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage. And it's an all-aluminum case, so it really feels and looks very nice. This just came out. It was just announced this week. Dell makes.
You recommend getting it?
Yeah, this is beautiful. Beautiful.
Do you recommend the touch screen?
No, you don't need touch. Touch can be nice. I have touch on my Pixel, but Chrome OS isn't really designed for touch. So, although that may happen. See, the other reason that I'm interested in Chrome OS, Google's made a lot of noises about making it really be their one and only true operating system. They've implied that the Android store will be available in the next few months on Chrome OS, for instance. Suddenly, now it's a full computing platform. You can run any Android app on there. It's not just Chrome apps. Oh, that's interesting. And I suspect they're going to modify Chrome OS to be more touch-friendly. And all of that, by the way, comes automatically. The updates just happen every time you start up the computer. It'll update itself. So.
And thus far, I haven't seen a Chrome tablet.
Yeah, they're Chrome tablets. There's convertibles, but really the tablet OS generally is, you're right, Android. Even the Pixel C, which is a tablet from Google, and everybody thought would be running Chrome OS, is running Android. So in general, you're right. But I think that Lenovo and some others make detachable screen Chromebooks. I believe so. I may be wrong on that. The Asus Flip will flip around. It can be used as a tablet. So there are a few like that. Then you do need touch, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate all the insight here.
Highly recommend these for people who, worry about getting viruses or if you have a family member who's constantly calling you saying something's wrong with the computer, this is a great solution. They may go kicking and screaming, but I think in the long run, they will say, oh, yeah. The other way to go is with a tablet, preferably an iPad, that's also has many of the same benefits. Simple, easy to use, secure. You don't need all the complexity of a general purpose computer unless you are designing rocket ships or editing movies or, if you're a photographer, you probably should have a computer that can run Lightroom and Photoshop. But those are kind of more professional, more serious uses. Most people use their computers for email and browsing, and that's it. And for that, a Chromebook would be a great choice. 8888 Ask, in my opinion, 8888 Ask Leo. By the way, it's running Linux, but you don't need to know that. You don't even see it. It's not apparent at all. There's no fiddling around with stuff. Although, you can get a command line if you want. You can do other stuff to it. Website, techguylabs.com. I'll put a link to the new Acer, A-C-E-R, Chromebook 14. That's their new aluminum Chromebook. Dell also makes some very nice mid-range Chromebooks. Samsung makes some excellent Chromebooks. There's lots of choices out there. It is, I think, the #1 selling laptop on Amazon. It's very, very popular. More of your calls coming up in just a bit. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah. Pay no attention to the kernel behind the GUI. That's right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one, isn't it? HP is making a Chromebook that is for work, that is really designed. I mean, these are, let me look at the pricing on these. I mean, these are really designed for businesses, and I think that's kind of intriguing. So they start at $549, so they're expensive. And then you also have to pay a management fee. Not sure I agree with that. But they're very fast processors. Oh, Dell has a management. Wait a minute. All these guys have a management fee. Well, this is some sort of business thing, huh? Don't buy one with a management fee. Yeah, these are built for business. Oh, I see. I'm at the Google for Work site. That's why. So if we go to store.google.com, there's a Flip. That's kind of like a tablet. Oh, that's interesting. The new Acer is not on here. So they see that as a work device. Let's see if you could buy it on Amazon. Yeah, you can buy it on Amazon. $2.99 and no management fee. Yeah, there's a good example, Vic. Vic says, I spent $1,300 on a MacBook Air, used it like a Chromebook for 2 years. Now I bought a $300 Chromebook. I think a lot of people, that's right. Yeah, because the transition mini moose will be free and transparent to you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. On we go with Louie in Bellflower. Hi, Louie.
Oh, hello, Leo.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Question, on Windows, I'm on Windows 10. I cannot get the menu, the apps, or anything for the last few weeks. I've gone into the internet, and evidently I'm not the only one.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people.
The disappearing start menu.
Correct.
Yep.
So far, the information I've been able to get to PowerShell, put this SFC file to correct it, doesn't work, and another DISM, and it doesn't correct it, and I just can't seem to correct it. And my question is, will Windows 10 continue to update my my system without the menu operating?
By the way, this exact call is why I tell people buy a Chromebook. For years, people had to buy Windows, and they still are on. There's a lot of inertia behind that, but this is exactly why, for most people, it's not a good idea. So, you found the sites that explain how to fix it, and what a pain it is, right?
Yes, it is.
So at this point, your best. I find this so frustrating, and by the way, it's not you, Louie. I feel for you. I just find this so frustrating that Microsoft can't seem to, get this right. The best thing for you to do at this point would be to back up your data if you can get to it. Can you get to your data?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, back up your data and rebuild it, restore it. There's a recovery option in the control panel that will let you just start over, start fresh, do that. And the truth is, this is not that common of a problem. It's common enough that there are many sites with fixes on it, and I've received more than one phone call with people who can't see their start menu. But generally, if you reinstall Windows, and you can do that without a disk or anything, it's built into your computer, restore Windows, it'll go away. So now I don't know how to do it without the start menu, but you got to get to the control panel, and in the control panel there's recovery options, and one of those recovery options is to just restore the computer to the way it was when it came from the factory. That's what you want to do. Get it back to the original.
Okay, yeah, because I can get into the control panel through the task manager, and
you're smart. Yeah, do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it's crazy what you have to do. You found it, DISM, and you go in the registry and you do.
Correct.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then, by the way, even then, that one thing it says, downloading and reinstalling all Windows 10 apps reportedly fixes this. I wouldn't do that. I think you want to rebuild Windows and start from scratch.
I've tried that, and it doesn't work anyway.
You did it all. You did all the steps.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what? Your Windows install is corrupted. Redo it. And this is where on a Chromebook you would go and you do the power wash. You haven't lost any data, and you're back to where you were. Now you have to make sure you back up your data, reinstall Windows.
Now, what was that Chrome? What was your Chrome?
No, don't get a Chrome. I'm telling people, because remember the last caller, he said, should I get a Chromebook?
Yeah, I heard.
For most people, that would be a better solution, because this is crazy. Now, maybe you do something with your machine. You use it for work, or you need to keep an inventory or a spreadsheet.
I do.
Yeah,
I have a small business.
There you go. You need we have Windows machines here in the office because our business office needs to use Windows.
Yes.
And so I understand that. The problem is the small proprietor, the small business like yours, where you're not big enough to have an IT department.
No, you're my IT.
Yeah. And Windows, I really feel like Windows is designed for businesses with IT departments. Okay. And that's so that means you're the IT guy, and now you did it. You did exactly the right thing. You Googled it. You found these step-by-step fixes.
Yes.
And you did all the DISM and all that stuff, and still didn't fix it. Yeah, just reinstall Windows.
Okay, Leo, I'm going to do that.
Hey, Louie, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have
a good day.
You have my sympathy. It's hard being your own IT guy. I'm not even my own IT guy. We have a guy. We got Russell. And when somebody in my office says something's not working, when my wife says something's not working, I say, call Russell. Call Russell. Don't call me. Don't call me. Call Russell. I tell my family that. I said, if you're going to insist on using Windows, you need You need to find somebody to help you because I'm not gonna. It's frustrating. And for a lot of, unless you know you need, line of business applications or something more than just your browser and your email, a Chromebook is so much of a better choice. I will never get this call on a Chromebook. You just won't. Larry, Black Forest, Colorado. Hey, Larry.
Hi.
Are you a firefighter?
Yes. And
volunteer or?
I was a volunteer for 10 years, and then I've since went paid.
Fantastic. Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you. So we've got these mobile data computers that we use in the fire trucks to track us when we get a call.
Yeah.
And the Tritech software that we use we had to go to Windows 7. They were on XP,
right.
And they're about 10 years old.
Right.
So everything went fine I've done 12 of them.
You're the IT guy for the fire department.
Thanks to you. Yes, I am.
I'm so sorry.
But
oh, boy.
So I've upgraded all these laptops, and 6 of them went fine, no problems. But then now I've got a Gobi driver in 6 of them that I can't get it to work. I did all 12 of them. We're done the same. They've been done over the
Are the laptops identical?
Yes, they're all Panasonic CF19s.
Yep. Tough. They're tough books.
Yes, they are, and they are very tough.
And the Gobi is a GPS thing, right? From it's a Qualcomm chip, I think.
Yeah, and there's a CSA installer that we use from Panasonic.
Have you verified that it's compatible with Windows 7?
Well, it
works on some of them, though.
Yeah, and like I said, 6 of them work fine, and probably 4 of those have been in service now with Windows 7 for about a year.
Yeah.
And now I have 4 more that I have to do right now, and none of the Gobi drivers will work in any of them. Same software. I have a flash drive I made with Windows 7 and loaded them all, did all the Windows updates, have done everything identical. And these, I can't get the Gobi.
How frustrating is that, huh? I don't know if I'm going to be much help. Let me ask the chat room. We've got to take a break anyway. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Is the Gobi, is it internal or is it an external device?
It's internal.
Okay.
It's in the bottom of the computer, and then we can put these in docking stations, and so that they have an antenna that goes out, and so they can get better service. All these are Verizon, and
so I'm gonna. I found on YouTube. Maybe you've seen this video. It's from Bob Johnson's Computer Stuff. It's how to install the CSA and Gobi driver on a CF30 video, and I wonder if he also has I think he has an online tutorial. I wonder if this is just a link to a Panasonic site. It's strange that it's half working. I could see if it were.
Well, and so if I update the driver,
yeah,
and everything, it comes up, but then when I run the Verizon software,
where
it comes back and says the WWAN can't be found.
Yeah. Okay.
And I need to turn a switch on. Well, I can't find a switch.
No. Yeah. There is a there is a hardware switch that turns off the radios. You found that?
It's for the Wi-Fi in the side.
Yeah.
Under the PCMCIA.
Right.
Yeah. I found that. That doesn't seem to make a difference other than turning off the Wi-Fi.
It would turn off the WWAN as well.
Yeah. And they're all on.
You made sure they're all on.
Yeah, I've turned them off and made sure that they do take the Wi-Fi and turn it off. But
yeah, So that sounds like the Verizon software is not communicating properly with the driver.
And but the laptop itself on the other ones that did work, the Gobi will come up and I can get access without having to do anything. It doesn't need the Verizon software when it does work, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so, they come up and they automatically connect to the Verizon network, and then I can do
You
I don't need to put the...
You never installed the Verizon software on those?
No.
Wow, interesting. Well, then get rid of all that Verizon software.
and I'm trying. I'm just racking my brain trying to figure out and see if you had any...
Yeah.
And trying to find a firmware update from Qualcomm has been almost impossible.
Yeah, as these things get older, these guys just abandon them, basically, which is not right because this is used in public safety.
Yeah.
And I feel like they should have a higher responsibility for keeping this stuff running.
Yeah, and I'm like, these are like 8 to 10 years old, and so...
They've abandoned them.
Yeah, and I can't call Panasonic for support.
No, they've abandoned it. But the problem is you don't have the budget to abandon it.
No, I don't, and I really need to get these back working. We tried, on your recommendation, bought some Surface Book Pros to try to migrate over to them, but the Tritech software we use will not work on Windows 10.
They haven't kept that up to date either, and that's frustrating.
And I've got it to work on Windows 10, but it has a font problem. So.
Oh, man, I feel for you, and I don't have a good answer, Larry, and I'm looking at the chat room, and they don't either. One thing they're saying, well, maybe if it works on half of them, just clone the hard drive of the ones that it works and see if that's just a software problem.
Well, I thought about doing that, but would I need to get the Windows license activation code out of it to...
Yeah, you get the activation code for the one you're moving it to, and you're going to clone it, and it's going to say that's the wrong activation, and then you enter the right one. You can change the serial number.
And something like Clonezilla?
Yeah. Try it on one and see, because that would tell you if it's the software. My suspicion is it's not the software. It's a hardware issue.
Okay.
But I would try that.
I will try that.
Well, I'll keep watching the chat room. If anything else comes up, we'll put it in the show notes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Bye.
Wish I could be more help. Wow. All right. I'm going. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Those guys are great. They really get you going. I play that in the morning going out the door. Nathan Staten, our musical director, as always, spinning the hits. Kim Schaffer, our phone director, answering the calls. I'm Leo Laporte. And we've got a few more minutes left in the show. We're going to wrap it up here. Let's go to New Jersey first. Brett is on the line. Hi, Brett.
How you doing, Leo? I just wanted to ask you, what's a good Google Cardboard recommendation?
Oh, yeah. So the New York Times gave them away in the Sunday Times about 2 months ago. I think this is from the New York Times. Or it might be from Google. And they're literally made out of cardboard. But there are companies now that make, I mean, it's not like there's one better than the other one. The cardboard ones are fine, but there are companies that make, that you can buy them from. I wonder if Google, if you go to google.com/get/cardboard, they have a listing of all the companies that make cardboard. You could buy it from Google for $15, but it's made out of cardboard. There's some other companies.
The ones on Amazon.
Yeah, any of them are. This isn't, Google didn't patent this or anything. Lots of companies make them, and they range all over the place. I'd get the cheapest one you can get. I think, frankly, $15 is too much for one made out of cardboard. But there are companies that make them out of plastic and all kinds of things. And as long as it says works with Google Cardboard. Now, remember, you also have to have a smartphone that supports the Google Cardboard software. That's an iPhone or an Android. Most Android devices, recent Android devices, will do that. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of... You can choose it by price, by material, by phone, screen size. It's on the website. You can even choose it, you could say, I only want one made out of nylon ABS. That's the Smart VR from Dodo Case. Now, unfortunately, it's $90. Is that right? No, $40. Oh, good. 90 would be too much. This is actually the one I'd probably recommend if you don't mind spending $40. Dodo Case makes great cases for iPads and iPhones, and they're a good manufacturer. And this would be a comfortable, nice thing. Cardboard allows you to view 360-degree immersive video, just like you're looking through one of those old Mattel ViewMasters, right? And it's a great way to kind of experience VR at a fairly low cost. But again, you need to have the phone. So the first thing to do is go to your app store, whether it's the iOS App Store or the Android App Store, and see if you can download the Google Cardboard app. Peter, Brooklyn, our last call of the day. Hello, Brooklyn.
How are you, sir? How's everything?
It's great. How are you, Peter?
Good, good. Hanging in there.
All right.
I recently we bought my mother a 6S for for her birthday, and for Mother's Day I wanted to get an Amazon Echo.
Oh, you're a sweetie.
Thank you.
That's nice.
I've seen you, using it a lot.
You know what? I was skeptical. So my wife's father, our father-in-law, is in his mid-70s, and I thought, oh, he can kind of use a computer. Lisa said we should give him an Echo, and I was very skeptical. Her mother and father love it. They play music on it. They ask it questions. They use it every day. Now you'll have to bring it over to her. You'll probably want to set it up, because you need to have the Alexa software on your phone or your tablet to do it. You need to have an Amazon account, all of that. But once you set it up, then it's fine. And she can, and you teach her. You have to teach her to say things like, "Oh, Echo." They love Elvis, so they'll say, "Echo, play me some Elvis music," and all of a sudden Elvis starts coming out of the tube. And they're
That's actually the question I had for you. Does it play through like Apple Music, or would it be through Amazon?
Well, by default, it comes with Amazon Prime Music. You have to have a Prime account for that. You can attach it to other stuff. Yes, Apple Music, I think they just added it. It certainly works with Spotify, Google Music. It works with Audible books. It would be, a great gift if your mom loves books, is get an Audible account, and every month you can give her a new book, and she can have the Echo read it to her.
Nice.
I know, it'd be great.
One other quick question, Leo, for the Amazon Echo.
Yeah.
My parents, they like to gamble. They're almost like degenerate gamblers, and
they're gambling away your inheritance. Tell them to stop. Knock it off.
they always they ask for the numbers, they come out at almost around 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
In New York. Would they be able? The Echo.
I think so.
That too?
Here's how you find out. You go to Amazon.com and you look at the Echo skills. And by the way, they're easy to write new skills. In fact, if there's one thing wrong with the Echo, there are so many skills you can't possibly learn them all. So you have to kind of narrow it down.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
I know. I'm talking about you. She's very sensitive, and every time I mention her name, she wakes up. I have one sitting right next to me for demo purposes. But I'm not sure, but I bet you there's a skill. Is it Powerball? Which one do they play?
I like the 3 numbers, the 4 numbers.
It's legal, right? It's not just the numbers game. They're playing the state-run numbers. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised, and if not, somebody will probably write it. You can ask. There's a school lunch skill where if you're in a particular county, you can say, "Hey, what's going to be for lunch today at the Echo School?" And she'll tell you. Wow. But somebody wrote that skill. It's not hard to write skills, and so people are starting to do that. I don't know, Peter, have you done any programming?
No. I'm going computers.
Let me see. Amazon Echo, New York. Is it the New York State Lottery? I wonder.
3 numbers or 4 numbers.
Numbers. Let me just see if there's a skill for this. I bet there is. There also is. I know there's a skill that will give you numbers to bet on. Like what to pick.
Might love that.
They would love that too. Echo, select a winning number for me. I don't know if she'll do that. No, she doesn't know what I'm talking about. I'd have to pick the. But they have there's a skill for dice rolling in Dungeons and Dragons. There's all sorts of stuff, and a lot of it's just written by people because it's not hard to write an Echo skill. So I can't tell you if there's one for the New York numbers, but and you know what? More power to them. If it's fun. My grandma used to like to go to the track. If it's fun for them, let them bet the family jewels away. You don't need it, do you, Peter?
Oh, sir.
No, you're a great son. I think it's a great gift, and I have some experience giving it to my in-laws, and they love it. I'm amazed how much they love it. They listen. I don't usually listen to it for music because it's got kind of not a great speaker. But they don't care. It sounds great. It's better than that's like their stereo now. You can listen to radio shows. You can do all sorts of things. So
can we listen to your show?
Yes, you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm on there too. I think the skill is I have to do some research. I think it's something like listen to the tech guy on TuneIn, I think. Let me try it. Echo, listen to the Tech Guy on TuneIn. Let's see.
Getting the latest episode of Tech Guy Labs.
Yeah.
Here it is from TuneIn.
Yeah. So now she's going to play the show. That's the podcast.
Netcast.
And then you can also, Echo, stop. You can also listen to the live stream. Echo, listen to Twit Live on TuneIn.
Twit Live on TuneIn.
She calls it Twit Live.
I have to.
Now I'm listening to me.
Something like, listen to the Tech.
Now this is going to get very confusing fast.
Tune in.
Because now she's listening to me, listening.
Echo, listen to the Tech Guy.
Oh no!
On TuneIn.
No, we're going to be in a loop. It's Inception.
Getting the latest episode.
Oh no!
Of
Stop! Anyway, you get the idea. Echo, stop. It's a lot of fun. Hey, Peter, great to talk to you. You're a nice boy, a nice son. Take care. I'm out of time. Thank you all for joining me. Please come back again. I'm Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great Geek Week. Don't forget our website, techguylabs.com. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows on the Netcast network. It's called TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. You even get your daily dose of tech news with Tech News Today, and of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.